All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to a very special episode. We've hit the milestone for us, episode 200, spanning almost 8 years of podcasting, which is insane. Andy, how are you doing?
Pretty good. That's an insane number. It seems small, but then when you say it in years, it's yeah, a little
Yeah,
overwhelming.
like 2 inches. When you say, it seems small, but it's
Once you feel it, yeah.
exactly. I don't want to alarm you, but who is this other person? We got 3 people
Hmm.
in here today.
Hmm.
What's going on?
I'm peering out of the shadows.
Oh my gosh, everybody. Who's that? Well, if you've been listening to the show for a number of years now, you would recognize that is Biff or Nate. We're just going to go with Nate because.
Oh man, I haven't heard Biff in a long time. I was like, "Who's Biff?"
Yeah,
that is me. That's crazy.
So welcome back. It's been a while. I think
it's good to be back.
70 episodes or more. So
it is super bizarre saying episode 200, and I'm with Andy when you're talking, spanning it over years. Wow, you guys have been podcasting before podcasts were cool.
Yes, I've made the joke many times, but I always laugh at when I commented about 5 years in and Andy laughed or something, or 10 years in. He's like, ha ha ha, that'll never happen. And then, God,
Yeah.
now we have to, we have to make it 10 years.
Yeah.
Seems ridiculous not to, but yeah, we're here to celebrate episode 200. We're going to change it up a little bit. We thought we'd do something totally different. We going to go through listener questions. We reached out. We had a couple people respond with some great questions. We'll get to those. It's going to be real fun. But we thought, what could we do? It would be an interesting take, probably cause some debate, and just be fun to record. And that was, well, let's do a bracket. It's March anyway, so brackets are in. Let's talk about video game consoles and use a bracket to argue our way through what the best video game system of all time is. I'm going to lay this out for the listeners. Like, this doesn't include every single console. For our UK people, we're not talking about Amigas or the ZX Spectrum. We're not talking about, the Fairchild. We're doing the heavy hitters and then even some oddball ones because I needed to even this bracket out to get to a good 30. And they're in no particular order. We randomized the seed. And for consoles that have add-ons, when you think Famicom Disk System, the Genesis, as far as the CD and the 32X, those are all considered one into the base system for the sake of this argument. And you can use that in your argument for why that console may or may not be better. So those are the rules we're playing by. Does that sound reasonable?
That's a lot of rules.
It is. I mean, this is going to be complete insanity anyway. But yeah, let's just get started. So our first matchup, this is surprisingly close in my opinion, and it shouldn't be. It is the Xbox Series X and S against the ColecoVision. I have an argument for the ColecoVision being a pretty groundbreaking console in the time that it was out.
A drastic pause.
And also the Xbox X and S is awful from a video game console standpoint.
Yes. But at the same time, that's pretty much all I play is Xbox X at this point.
Me too, but I don't need that. I just need Game Pass and a PC, right?
I know, but do you put Game Pass on Series X as a selling point in this bracket then? Because I suppose
it has to be, right? It's a non-physical console add-on, right?
Right. I mean, Xbox is a lot of things now, but one of them is not a ColecoVision.
That's true.
So
the ColecoVision had some add-ons that were pretty sweet too. So
you could put the ColecoVision on the Xbox, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You could also get that like 2600 add-on for the ColecoVision to also play Atari games, though. So there's that.
That's pretty cool. That's like, everybody's like, oh, we're gonna have Game Pass on Switch. This bullshit was happening way back then, Yeah.
Well, so I'm Team ColecoVision. It sounds like Andy, you're Team Xbox. So Nate, that makes you the deciding factor. You have to murder someone's child here.
No problem. So I think people are gonna die here, but I've never played a ColecoVision. So
No.
Maybe a good camp.
yep. So I think this is really simple. I think Xbox is a no-brainer.
Okay.
Done.
All right. It's decided. Okay. The Xbox moves on. Next up, this one will be less of a debate. The Philips CDI versus the Sega Master System. Does anyone have a pro CDI argument?
Well, I have a long history with the CDI.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I've heard you talk about it once or twice. That's about as far as it gets. I think this one's really simple.
I'd agree.
See, I don't think I can come up with one thing. Even one thing that's good on the CDI, right?
I mean, it has the worst Zelda games of all time. So
Yeah.
that. Yeah. All right. We're nuking it. Master System lives on.
These are like the schools in March Madness that you never heard of.
These are the ranked 16.
Yep.
You're looking for that underdog.
Okay. On to the next one. This one's going to be tough for me personally. The Nintendo 64 has been matched up against the PlayStation 5. And I hate the 64, and I can't make an argument as to why it's worse than the PlayStation 5. We're talking Smash Brothers. We're talking Mario Kart, GoldenEye, Ocarina of Time. And the PlayStation 5 has a bunch of games that are also on the PC.
And Astrobot.
And Astrobot. Maybe that one won't ever go to PC.
I've pretty much loved every PlayStation that's ever come out, and the 5 has not done anything for me. So I think I'm going to go 64 here, even though it's hard to go back to. But
Biff, concerns? What do you think?
I know how much you hate this, so I think naturally I just got to say the 64.
Yeah.
I honestly, I have more experience with a Nintendo 64 than I do a PlayStation 5. So I feel like, to me, even though it's a rough system for me personally, but I think 64 is where I got to go.
I got to be with you guys in this one as much as it.
Wow. This is good. Look at this growth.
The PlayStation 5 is a console that does not need to exist, and it's nearing the end of its life cycle.
Which is absolutely nuts.
It is nuts. Yeah. I mean, we're maybe like 2 years tops away, and there's still like really no exclusive killer apps. I mean, Astrobot, but just the amount of stuff that gets ported to PC is insane to me because it's everything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This one coming up next should be a little easier. Interesting. But Sega Saturn versus the Atari 7800.
Oh boy.
I mean, we have to keep in mind here that the 7800 has full backwards compatibility with the 2600. So you're getting two consoles in one. The Sega Saturn is the ultimate gaming system. Even if they just did just reuse that hashtag for the Dreamcast, but
I feel like I'm picking the Saturn.
Yeah, I mean the Saturn is like the ultimate 2D device, right?
Right. And it lived on and had a huge library in Japan. I mean, there were still games being put out like 3 years after that thing was dead in the US.
Yeah. If anything, the 7800 was more dead on arrival than the Saturn was. Like when you think of PlayStation blowing the Saturn out of the water, I think NES blew the 7800 away way more than that.
Yeah, I guess I can't argue with that. It was too little too late. But the Saturn was trying to be the best at something that was going out the window, but still managed to hang in there for a few years.
Right. And the little I have played a 7800, I've been impressed with a lot of stuff on there. But yeah, it's still when you're like, oh, this is supposed to compete with the NES.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, the fact that we didn't get to proper controller over here for the 7800 is insane to me. So, all right, Sega Saturn wins. Ooh, got a pair of oddballs here. Okay, this is gonna be a fun one. Atari Jaguar against the
Oh boy.
Vectrex.
Hmm.
That's a good pairing. I like the Vectrex a lot and the Jaguar actually.
But yeah, I think you got to be on a Jaguar side on this one.
I kind of think so, right? Alien versus Predator. Do the math. Because what is the Vectrex game? I bet these game libraries are close, right? I think the Jaguar cartridge library is like under 30, not including the CD add-on, which I guess we could say is like a bonus points thing for the Jaguar. I don't know if that's true. I think finding a working one of those these days is damn near impossible.
So I never experienced the Jaguar in its prime. So I only played it with you, and I think it's one of those systems that I look at, I'm like, oh man, the graphics are awful. I mean, that's like going back to like Nintendo 64 or any of that kind of stuff that I'm like, it just doesn't look super great.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the graphics in my head are safer with the Vectrex.
Yeah,
Pretty basic, simple, still fun.
There's something to be said about that. I mean, it's very unique, especially with the overlay. I just don't know.
Name one game.
Yeah, that was gonna be my thing. It's like I just don't know if it's got the depth of games.
Yeah, I mean that the vector graphics blow your mind though. The first time you actually see that,
Yeah,
it's really cool. But
I mean, there are those handful of Jaguar games that do 3D well, and then there's the really good ports of Wolfenstein, Doom, and Alien versus Predator. I mean, even though it hasn't held up, is good.
You brought up the best argument of this whole thing is name a Vectrex game, and I'm like, I don't even know what was the game that I even played on this thing. I have no idea.
And
it's just lines. Yep.
Yeah, nowadays you go to conventions and it's just that one guy selling that multi-cart. So like there's one game for the Vectrex.
Just one game.
Yep.
All right. So Vectrex sadly dies. I mean, this is kind of a pointless bracket because neither one of these is making it to the end anyway. Let's be real here, but all right. Next one is a good one. Kind of a tough one. We were going PlayStation 4 against the original Sony PlayStation.
Oh, geez.
I those are the two best ones. I mean, you can make the argument for two, I guess. But in my opinion, those are my two favorites.
I think I'm going to go PlayStation 4. There's a lot of great games on that system. When it came to like modern systems, that was one of the first ones I kind of jumped into because I was just hanging around retro stuff the whole time. I feel like that really opened my eyes a little bit more to some modern gaming.
Yeah, I mean, I think the PlayStation 4 is the first time Sony got the online ecosystem correct. And yeah, the library is killer. But the Sony PlayStation defeated Nintendo at its own game and launched franchises that we're still playing today. So I don't know. I mean, the PlayStation 4 crawled or PlayStation crawled so the PlayStation 4 could run, right? Like, it's a tough one for me.
Yeah, and I think the PS4, while the library is massive and they held on to it a really long time, it also was kind of the beginning of how current stuff is going, where it's remaster after remaster and games don't come out as fast. You think about PS1 and how many Crash Bandicoots and how many, all these things came out year after year, and they were quality games that came out in a year or two from the last one, and development really slowed down on the PS4. I feel like a little bit on the previous gen before that, but PS4 really started to spread it out, I thought.
Yeah, well, we're like, okay, so we got like The Last of Us obviously is massive. We got a new Uncharted. We got the reimagining, I guess, of not Gears of War, God of War. What else is
But
like
only
proprietary?
yeah.
What's proprietary and great that didn't originate on another console?
Right, because even, I mean, you think about it now, if you're going to play Last of Us, you could play on PS3, PS4, PS5 at this point. They've done it all.
That's true. Oh yeah, Last of Us was a PS3 game?
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
They ported it 3 times?
Yep.
So that doesn't even count then. Okay. God, I love the PlayStation 4. But we're talking like the birth of Tony Hawk. We're talking Final Fantasy VII. We're talking the oddball that toppled the industry and put it on its head as an FU to Nintendo. I think I have to go PlayStation, even though I would much rather anytime today pick up a PlayStation 4. I think I gotta go PlayStation.
I think I'm with you. Like, there's not enough of the stuff that PS4 just doesn't have the real bangers that the PS1 did, and like a lot of those games turned into PS4 games, down the line, right? So
cool. Suck it, Nate.
I lost. I'm okay.
the PS1 doesn't have Fortnite though, so
That's true.
I'm gonna give that as a bonus point to the PlayStation. Next up, interesting matchup. Xbox One and the 3DO. The 3DO is an interesting experiment. I've owned one. I've sold it off. One of the consoles I've parted with. Because it's just like such an oddity of that era of gaming. But that era of gaming also doesn't hold up particularly well when they were trying to figure out how to make 3D work and you're basically playing with a Super Nintendo controller. But then there's the Xbox One, which is also easily the worst Xbox console. It gets some bonus points in that I guess you can run Game Pass on it for most games in that library these days. It doesn't run everything particularly well. It required DRM, which they later backtracked on. It required that you have whatever that stupid camera was, which they later backtracked on. And then they just put out the worst versions of their franchises possible. So, well, maybe that's not true because Halo Infinite has come out since then. But we got Halo 5, which was meh. We got Gears 5, which was meh. It wasn't even called Halo 5, right? What was it? Or was it? Yeah, maybe
I think it was. Yeah.
It just like it felt like the beginning of the downfall and this like death spiral that they have yet to carve their way out of, where the 3DO felt innovative, unorthodox, and also fell into a death spiral that I couldn't get out of. But I think I might appreciate the 3DO more. I don't know. I mean, it's a stupid argument.
That was my thought immediately, was like, oh, 3DO is winning this, because the Xbox One's just a disaster. I mean, the 3DO disaster was the price more than anything else. And,
correct. The hardware was solid.
The hardware was solid. A lot of developers probably didn't use it to the fullest, but
EA supported it very strong out the get-go. It had good initial support. It's got one of the best versions of Street Fighter 2. The best in that era, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Nate, do you have any strong opinions?
Man, 2 systems that I have no attachment to and no history with. The 3DO I probably have played more, which is weird to say. Yeah. That's where I'm going to sit with, even though it's a terrible system, but I just don't have any connection to the Xbox.
Yeah. I think I'm more intrigued.
Am I crazy?
No, I think I'm more intrigued by what the 3DO tried to do than what the Xbox One tried to recover from. So,
do you think there's people screaming at us right now?
Oh, for sure.
But this bracket's going nowhere.
Idiot.
Neither one of these is going to be the best console ever. So again, but yeah, I'm sure there's people that are mad at us. But 3DO wins. Who would have guessed?
Clean sweep.
Oh, this one's gonna hurt for some people. Whew. PlayStation 2 against the Wii.
That's tough once, especially when you add in like virtual console stuff.
And
if you brought Guitar Hero, like that was kind of a big launch into that kind of realm.
That did also get to the Wii eventually, though. And
it did.
And if we're really being honest, like if we're comparing first gen of these, well, actually all gens of PS2, but like the PlayStation 2 is also backwards compatible with the One. If you bought like the first half of the life cycle of the Wii, that Wii was also a GameCube. So you're stacking GameCube plus Wii plus Virtual Console, PlayStation versus PlayStation 2.
But one of them played DVDs, which was a huge difference in this time.
That is true.
And one had motion controls.
But one would let you order pizza from Domino's.
That's true.
And one had the Everybody Votes channel. Huh? Think about that.
I did use that a lot, yes.
I did too, and I don't understand why.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at future of the systems, though. The Wii is very difficult to emulate. And so it really stands the test of time in that way.
And if we're being honest, there's a successor to the Wii that rendered all of those games and upscaled them to HD and cleaned them up quite a bit. So if I ever wanted to play with waggle controls, I would do it on the console that came after that.
Okay.
And that's pretty much the only use for that thing now.
That was my argument.
Let's look at this realistically from this standpoint. Would you ever choose to go back and play a Wii game at this point? I don't know that I would, over just picking up a PlayStation 2 game and playing it.
It depends. I mean, some of the like Wii Sports
solid
there's a time and place for that all the time. I think
Wii bowling all day long.
Yep. We got God of War, we got Jack and Daxter, we got Sly Cooper. I'm missing a bunch, I know.
There's a lot of RPGs I played on PS2, that's for sure.
I think it's got like one of the largest libraries, is it not? Like over 700 games. Not that the Wii doesn't, but you have to throw out 40% of it for being shovelware.
Yeah. I think PS2 is my favorite PlayStation, so I pretty much have to pick that then.
Yeah, I think
I'm gonna lose. I'm picking Wii.
Are you? God, I'm gonna have to kill one. I don't want to kill either one, really. The Wii has the worst Zelda. The worst two Zeldas. Because of the stupid controls. It does have Mario Kart, though. The Smash was all right on it. It had as good of online capabilities, probably slightly better than the PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 was pretty rough with network stuff. Like they didn't
for sure.
They didn't have an online system or store figured out, so it takes a hit there. Yeah, I don't know. I think I have to go. I think I got to go PlayStation 2. I think the legacy of the Wii is diminished.
Man, how could you do Nintendo wrong?
I think they did us wrong by thinking that we needed to jiggle a remote for everything. I think that's where their problem was.
It's kind of weird thinking, like right now I'd be like, oh, I'll go back and play a PS2 game without any reservations.
Yeah.
But like going back to play Mario Galaxy, I'd be like,
Right. Yeah, you're like, I gotta find the controller, I gotta find that like dildo thing to attach to it. Gotta get a sensor bar. I hope my cat didn't shoot through the sensor bar cord for the 28th time. You know what I mean? Like I'm never gonna do it because it's too much work.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody wins in that one, but I'm gonna go with Andy.
No, two people win. One loses here.
I think
unless you're the 3DO.
I think there is an argument for the PlayStation 2 being the greatest console of all time, and I think at the end of the day, in my mind, there's no way the Wii gets there. So I think I'm going with that. This next one's fun too. It's kind of like rematch PlayStation 3 versus the Wii U. I dislike both of these consoles greatly in large part, and I appreciate them in others. It's the best place. It was the best Blu-ray player on the market, and still actually is a very functional Blu-ray player today. The PlayStation 3. It introduced that bullshit OS that they used for the PSP as well, which was terrible and got exploited, even though they said it couldn't. It introduced their store. It introduced PlayStation Home. It didn't have a lot of really great games and got, in my opinion, just crushed by the competition in the online gaming space again, because they couldn't really ever get that platform to work well in like a party chat. You know what I mean? Like in the Call of Duty Bro era, the PlayStation 3 stumbled there. And the Xbox 360 crushed it.
Right. Because everybody built for the 360, even though the PS3 was more powerful, it was always the inferior version, unless it was, Sony first party stuff, which was on another level than most 360 games at that
That's
point.
True.
At the end.
But those were so far and few in between.
Yep.
And then we have the Wii U, which was Nintendo's first quote unquote HD console. It didn't really need to exist. I have fond memories of it because there's like 10 games in that library that released while that thing was out. And undoubtedly over those 3 to 4 years, one of those games was always my favorite game of that year, even though it was on a terrible console. So I like that. It historically accounted for 15% of Pornhub's viewership while it was a relevant console, which I think is impressive. It speaks wonders of that tablet and the internet browser. And every game that was released for it virtually has been ported to the Switch. That was worth a damn.
I hate the tablet.
But you love the Switch.
I like the Switch when I sit on a beanbag and not have it in my hands.
Just picture the basement now is like full of love sacks and beanbags. That's all you have.
Pretty much. That's all I got.
There's a big difference though too. I mean, the Wii U pad feels like a toy. Like just the plastic and everything about it just feels hollow. Like it was for a kid's toy,
Poor battery life too.
Mm-hmm.
It did get Breath of the Wild, which is one of the greatest Zelda games of all time. It did have the Smash Brothers Ultimate, which is still going and is still fantastic. Mario Kart 8, still going, still fantastic. It brought back the Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, the extension of that Returns franchise. But it just didn't live up to its predecessor in that the Virtual Console was lacking. It was never organized well. The tablet had the pack-in game that utilized it, and then that zombie game, iZombie or not Zombie U, that did something neat with it. But for the most part, it was forgotten. Monster Hunter 3 was also very good on that.
Yep. I mean, I think that's probably if you're not counting all the games that are no longer exclusive to it, which I guess that's not really fair to the Wii U because it was there first, but
it's kind of got to be considered, right?
Yeah, I think so because I mean they're part of the Switch now.
Yeah, I think you have to look back on it and say like what is exclusive to it and makes it fantastic. And I don't know. Or maybe you're right. Maybe that's not fair because you can emulate every retro console at this point.
But I think you're right that they just totally failed at their own concept. Nintendo Land was brilliant, and I spent hundreds of hours with friends and stuff and family playing that game. And then they just like, well, that was good. Let's never do that again.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Mario 3D World is up there for me, like greatest Mario game of all time. Like but it's also been brought over to the Switch now, so I don't know. All right, I'd say 3. Anybody vote against that?
I agree.
Yeah.
Right.
As a guy who owns pretty much every Wii U game, I'm
complete collection, box sealed console. That's funny. Yeah, I think it's a tough one, but I think that makes sense. Again, the Wii U was never going to make it to be the greatest console of all time. This next pairing, though, this is going to be rough, guys. So we're talking the Super Nintendo.
Oh, gosh.
Xbox 360. Both powerhouses in their genre, or in their whatever.
Man, I instantly went to this is easy. I don't understand what's so difficult about this.
For their console generations, these were huge.
My time period was like kind of skipped. I was in the Wii system instead of 360 at that point, and then it hopped on the PS3 at the end. Really? So I kind of skipped the whole 360 area. Yeah. I got back into it and got like all the good Xbox Live games and all that stuff, and picked up all the games to play cheap. But yeah, I missed out on a lot of it straight up. So I think that's gonna weigh pretty heavy on this. And
I think, like, for me, the thing with 360 is I was a Xbox adopter pretty much out the gate. Fell in love with the console, and they cannibalized the later life and potential of the Xbox to bring out the Xbox 360 early to get a jump on the PlayStation. So it was out ahead. It was breathtaking at the time, Cameo and that Perfect Dark game. And we have to keep in mind here, this is like a console that was launched with like a 70% failure rate on its consoles. And they had to provide replacements and fixes for tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of consoles. And this thing still went on to be a powerhouse. And I think that's in large part to them understanding how the online infrastructure was going to be important. They did something amazing with Xbox Live on the original Xbox, and they really honed it into something that has become the standard on the 360. And I mean, Halo 3 was huge. All the Call of Duties, the people playing on Xbox was massive. The Gears franchise was dominant. I mean, it just year after year.
I'm going to say 3 words. 3 words. Super Mario World. 3 words. 1 word. Uniracers.
You're gonna die on that hill.
Yes.
It had such
D-Force.
such a huge life, though. The 360. And look at what that UI was. The blades that it launched with were awful. And then they turned it into like this really nice platform at the end.
Well, that's wild to think of in the first place, that thing launched with no HDMI,
yeah,
no hard drive, and no Wi-Fi.
Right.
And by the end, it was all in there in one package. Right. So it's pretty wild that.
And it could play DVDs.
Yeah. And HD DVDs if you had the attachments.
Oh, that accessory will really push it over the edge. But I guess to Nate's point, we're talking A Link to the Past.
Super Metroid.
Right. Super Mario Kart.
It was a juggernaut.
I can't think of a 360 game that's in the pantheon of any of those games.
Halo 3?
No.
Gears?
No.
I I disagree on this one, but you guys got it.
Best controller of all time, right there.
Yeah,
Super
the 360
simple.
controller is fantastic. It's still the
Oh,
standard
man.
being used today.
It was a good. Have you had a 360 controller in your hand lately? It feels really weird now.
I think you're not grabbing it right or something. Fine.
I'm holding to.
I'll concede.
Nintendo here.
I'll concede.
I'm proud of you.
I think the 360 got done dirty, though. I think against virtually any other console, I could have moved on. God, this next one's gonna suck, but I kind of already know how it's gonna go. So we're talking Nintendo Switch against one of my favorites, the TurboGrafx 16.
Oh man,
I don't think there's an argument here. I mean,
Switch has so many bangers, so many.
The TurboGrafx 16 failed, but it is one of my favorite consoles that I've come to know and love and collect for.
The Hue cards do taste better.
What's that?
The Hue cards taste better.
They do taste better. That's true. And you can put CDs with the Duo.
Mm-hmm. I think that should be the next bracket is tasting each card. Which one tastes the best? Just think about that.
Yeah, I mean, the Switch also saved Nintendo, right? From what seemingly was a unrecoverable, even I was like, they should just go third party. But it kind of launched Nintendo into Nintendo just doing what they do. And it seems like the rest of the video game world, in large part, has just continued to go on without, I don't even consider Nintendo in the realm of a PlayStation, PC, or Xbox anymore. I just consider it whatever they're doing, their fun little device.
Downfall is online store.
Mm-hmm.
Awful.
The online store is still dog shit.
And chat, awful. How can you not incorporate that in a modern day console?
They have a phone app, Nate. Come on.
I don't think that's the thing anymore either.
I did that one time. I put the phone on my chest. I'm like, this is stupid. I'm done with this. I'm never talking to another person playing video.
Just to not embed a Discord app. That's all they had to do was put Discord on it. Every other console that's out there. They didn't even have to solution it themselves. It's unbelievable. Nintendo.
So that's definitely, TurboGrafx is better in that sense that the system was the system for its time. It still was, the graphics were good, playability was great, good games. Here again, Nintendo Switch. The argument is Nintendo Switch released when it released, and all of those things were very much available.
100%.
And they failed. But it is the system that definitely saved Nintendo. Amazing games on it. I got to go Switch.
It's missing that web browser that the Wii U had that was apparently very clutch for a certain population. I can't argue with it. I love the TurboGrafx. I think it got done dirty when it got brought to the US. I don't think they did that right. I think its library is fantastic, and its legacy overseas is much better than ours. But you can't argue with the fact that I still play my Switch on a regular basis, even though the thing is outdated as hell and dying. I still enjoy it.
Well, and how many companies are copying? You got the Steam Deck and all that shit. They created a whole new section of hardware that's out there. So
that's very true. All right, next up, this is actually pretty good considering the history of this stuff. Dreamcast versus the original Xbox. which is funny because Microsoft CE powered the Dreamcast, which is what got them interested in making a home console. And it was Sega who begged Microsoft to allow embedded native play of Dreamcast games on their next console when they launched it. And Microsoft said no, largely due to the giant exploitative hole that they left in the Dreamcast architecture. But I don't know, the last breath of hardware from Sega or the first attempt from an evil corporation.
I mean, you could say the Dreamcast didn't last long enough, but neither did the Xbox for
Right.
what it was. And as somebody who was a fan of Sega, having the Dreamcast shut down, Sega's done making consoles, but here you go, we're shoving them all on Xbox. Kind of just, I didn't like that part. So I from the beginning already had like a distaste of the original Xbox, even though that's where the Sega games were going to.
Yeah, they got a lot of them.
But
Gun Valkyrie, Monkey Ball. I mean, Nintendo got a lot of good ones too.
Yeah.
Monkey Ball went to GameCube, and yeah, it was sort of sad to like see that they tried to make that happen, and Xbox just didn't want anything to do with it. I the Dreamcast did like do the thing as far as like the web browser, and kind of was 5 years ahead of where they needed to be. You know, I think had the Dreamcast integrated a broadband modem from the get go, along with that dial up modem. I mean, not a lot of people had anything better than dial up at that time, but there's something to say about SegaNet and like how revolutionary that was. The problem was is the Dreamcast never sold well enough to really have those servers populated fantastically. But the thing I like about the Dreamcast, which I guess to some extent is true about the Xbox, is like I feel like that was the last console that was just like wacky, right? Like they took chances. Like you had some interesting, unique games that would never get made today, and it kind of predated the sequel experience that we came to know on the consoles that followed it, where it was safer to just churn out the same shit over and over again. And the Dreamcast really tried some crazy stuff, largely due to Sega, to their detriment, maybe too, right?
Yeah.
And the Xbox doesn't have the greatest library. It did launch Halo. It did bring us Xbox Live, which is crucial. It's got the best versions, I guess, of that generation of like the GTA stuff, but it came later. Same with the Metal Gears. We got the substances that were better, but came later. Their first party stuff, the Microsoft Studios stuff, notoriously was just kind of half baked. I don't know. This one's actually kind of tough for me. I love them both.
Both controllers were strange to me, just bulky.
Yeah, the revised version, the S controller that came out on the Xbox after the Duke went away, I think really is the modern prototype for what we're still using today.
Yeah.
And I always remember that too, because like I had to buy one of those. They had just launched and they weren't coming with the consoles, and that's when I exploded my wrist and forearm. So I had such limited mobility with my fingers and the cast that I couldn't play with a Duke controller. So I literally had to buy this Type S controller. And it would just it was so grody because like my hand was basically still like decomposing from having been like, shattered to a million pieces, that like I had to like take Q-tips and just like scrape piles of dead skin out of my Type S controller.
Disgusting.
It was like a zombie played with my controller with my crusty little diminishing hand. So that's fun.
You talked me out of Xbox.
Yeah. See what you did there.
Mech Assault, I mean, I don't know. There's some experiences. It did play DVDs. They made you buy a $30 adapter to unlock it, which was stupid. It played them better than the PlayStation 2, though, but the PlayStation 2 also didn't make you spend $30 to have the privilege. I don't know. It was kind of the spiritual successor to the Dreamcast.
I'm going to say
Splinter Cell.
Xbox. That's where I'm sitting.
I think I got to go there, too.
I'm going to go Dreamcast because I think it was the last system that I saw for the first time and said, holy shit, we're on a new level, This is a new... The graphics have changed, and there hasn't been a system since that's really done that for me.
Yeah, the Dreamcast is the last 3D console where I can go back and say that I still appreciate the graphics. But I think, and I agree with you, especially seeing those like NBA 2K games, like you're just like, holy shit.
Soul Calibur.
Yeah, I didn't know stuff could look that. But I think I got that also from Halo. I think that did the same for me. So, and you guys made me kill the 360. So, all right,
Gotta get something in there.
Nate
Yeah.
and I are taking it. We're going Xbox, even though I know he gives zero shits about it. This next one is going to be funny. So, it's the GameCube versus the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh
And
man.
we got some questions coming in later on in the episode from Fraser, and he and I had a pretty colorful discussion about how the GameCube is not the greatest console ever, and he feels strongly the other way. So somebody's baby is gonna have to die here. Like, I'm the guy with surrounded by NES games right now. Well, there's GameCube ones too, but I don't know. I don't know that I can say the GameCube lives out of this.
I mean, this is that like Cinderella team that they're not going to go far in the tournament, but you're like, this is my team. I have to push them all the way to the championship, even though that's never going to happen. That's kind of how I'm feeling this is going to go.
I'm going to preload like where we're going in the end, but I could make an argument for the NES being the greatest console of all time.
That's my baby. The NES is my baby. Like that was redefining. I mean, that system redefined video games
100%.
Like 100%. Changed the whole industry. Brought graphics, even though they weren't amazing, but brought graphics that were superior to than the Atari. The
Being
first
able to
time you played
recognize
Mario,
the character, yeah, that was a huge leap for home consoles.
I mean, to me, that's hard to beat. GameCube, man, I'm just crapping all over it already. I'm like, the GameCube's fine. Like, the games are good. The system was good. Had an amazing load screen. Let's give them props to that. That's fun.
It's got a handle.
And if you hold if you hold the buttons, it makes like weird childish like giggles during that loading screen.
I didn't know that.
It was more graphically powerful than the PlayStation 2, even though nobody, back in that day, it was a very heated discussion. People were I hate Nintendo, they're trash, and wouldn't give the GameCube the time of day. I do think it has the worst 3D Mario. Sunshine sucks. It does have Smash Brothers Melee, which you can't fault that game. That was so good.
Still is.
The mini disc choice is perplexing. I get why they did it from a piracy standpoint. The design of the console, it was hard. This thing came out when I was in college. It was hard to have that thing sit under your TV and not feel like an asshole when people came over and saw it. Especially if you had the Barney purple one.
It's called Indigo Blue.
Yeah.
Barney. It did get the Game Boy Player add-on, which might be one of the best add-ons of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got a solid library.
Just the link cable stuff too. It was pretty cool.
Yes. Wind Waker, still up there. One of my favorite Zelda games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Pac-Man versus.
Oh, Pac-Man versus is so good. Yeah. I should look over. I can look at my games. BMX Triple X. Mario Kart Double Dash. I still think that's probably the best Mario Kart. Not gonna lie. You got Rebel Assault, those Star Wars games. You got
the Mario parties were decent at that point.
You got the collections of the Zeldas, so you get like the Master Quest if you pre-ordered Wind Waker. You get the promotional disc that you could get from Nintendo with all the old games. So it really had kind of like the full scope of what Zelda had been up to that point.
Metroid Prime
is huge. WarioWare, there was one.
Yeah. I can sit here and I have to do a double take on it. But I think it comes down to kind of the same situation with the PlayStation 1 and the PS4. Where it's like,
right,
NES was cranking that stuff up out like crazy, and it was like top notch, like industry defining games over and over and over.
Yeah. And then GameCube's lasting legacy seems to be Double Dash, Eternal Darkness, Luigi's Mansion, and Melee. But
And it's all stuff that people argue if it's the best thing or not, and
right.
Yeah.
Super Mario 3 done.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I think like the NES just brought too many genres and games that we're still playing today and are still regarded as like Mega Man 2. It's still the argument of like one of the best games of all time. The original Zelda.
I got chills as we just talk about it, guys. It's just moving along.
There's too many bangers. Sorry, Fraser, we're killing your baby.
I'm not sorry. I don't care.
Want to fight?
It's dead. Let's throw it out right now.
All right. Next one should be less investment from us. The Atari 5200 versus the Intellivision.
Oh my gosh, that
gross.
I don't care about either one of these. I'm gonna go with the Intellivision because I think that has a legacy, even if what's his name tried to just destroy it.
I will follow suit because I just don't care.
The 5200 is objectively awful.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever held that controller and not vomited, there's something wrong with you.
Is that the one with the keypad?
Yeah,
it's got the keypad and that joystick that doesn't like recenter. It's so awful.
No.
All right, killing it. That was a fast one.
Done.
Neither one of these are going anywhere anyway. Next one. There's some arguments here, but probably not much. Sega Genesis against the Atari 2600. The home console, the Atari 2600.
That ruined video gaming.
I mean, well, it overstayed its welcome, right? And they didn't know that you needed to iterate on hardware. That wasn't a concept at the time, but it had a 10-year lifespan. It brought like Atari before Nintendo was the blanket term for everything video game. Atari was that, right? And the Sonic. Sega Genesis, I mean, it did take down Nintendo near the end of its run. I mean, it was outselling it. It brought us Sonic, like you said. Yeah.
I loved like the first time playing that game and how fast it was.
Yes.
And there wasn't anything on Super Nintendo that played like that.
No. Don't you besmirch Bubsy. Bubsy had all that speed and the attitude. He was great. He had the t-shirt, no pants.
I mean, Uniracers was fast.
Was true.
Super fast. So probably equally. But the sound on that system on so many of those games it was just great.
Yeah, that sound chip and that distinctive Genesis like tinny tinge is something there. Even though I think like looking back on it objectively, Sega or Sonic games are really not very good platformers. I think they kind of are bad, if I'm being honest. Playing them,
I can't play them as a platformer though.
They're not. I mean, the first few levels are supposed to be just.
They make you play those platformers.
But that's where Bubsy went wrong. They tried to do platforming with that speed, and you can't do it. You just let the throttle go wide open and not really have anything in the way. Just do cool shit while you're going fast.
Right.
That's Sonic.
That's how I live my life.
Yeah. We got Sonic. We got Streets of Rage. We got Dynamite Heady, Gunstar Heroes.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Honestly.
Yeah, I love the 2600, but I can't even go back and visit it and enjoy it anymore.
I mean, a lot of the games that should be good on 2600 were not. I mean, you think about Pac-Man and all that stuff. Like, they had a chance to really do something cool with that thing, and they bombed a lot.
Pac-Man was good.
Yeah.
This bottom bracket's going to be like the total loser bracket here, because the last pairing in this first round is Commodore 64, which I know is more considered a PC platform, but for the sake of filling out this bracket, we included it, and it's the Neo Geo AES. I think the Neo Geo AES is fantastic. I love Neo Geo. It was a luxury item where the Commodore 64 was a thriving community, and people, it was the beginning of sharing discs and, piracy, and it has a lasting legacy, and so does the Neo Geo AES, but I I think if we're looking at what they did in the time they were around, one of them was on the mainstream's radar or the fringes of it, and one was something that most of us didn't know existed until we got the internet in adulthood, or at least the three of us. Am I wrong in that?
Yeah. I mean, but to say that, you know, the AES it's literally the arcade hardware you brought home. You know, that's insane. That's just crazy.
It is nuts. But its price point was also, you know, 3DO disgusting.
Unattainable. Just.
But I guess maybe the argument goes back to what Andy said earlier. Name one Commodore 64 game.
Easy.
Yeah.
It's a Jackie Chan game.
Yeah, Jackie Chan 64.
Staring at my C64 Mini, and I'm like, I don't even know what's on it. Like, I have no idea what's on that.
I love Neo Geo. Love it. Okay. So
Neo Geo?
That's where I'm sitting.
Okay, let's do it.
Yep.
Okay. We're here through initial rounds. We're going back up to the top.
Are we winning?
Yes. Xbox Series X and S against the Master System.
That's a kind of a tricky one.
I know. The Master System has some bangers. It's the best version of Double Dragon. If you don't agree with me, you're wrong. The NES version is inferior. It's got that port of Rampage. It's really good as well. The 8-bit down versions of the Sonic games were kind of fun, even if they were just the Genesis game. Or, I mean, the Game Gear game.
We're still throwing Game Pass into this, though.
We are still throwing Game Pass, and I think that's where I have to nod.
Which is...
Right?
Yeah, I think I almost have to go that way, too, because there's some really cool stuff on Master System, but still, like, Golden Axe Warrior, I think I liked it better than the original Zelda sometimes, but I'm still going to go back and play original Zelda. You know what I mean?
Right. And most of the really good stuff on the Master System got better versions on the Genesis. So, all right.
I have to hang with Xbox on this.
Okay, I'm with you. Xbox moves on.
Wow. Look it up the green.
We got the Titans of the Turds up next. We got the N64 and the Sega Saturn.
Just a long pause.
The one that revolutionized 3D gaming and the one that couldn't do it at all.
Yeah.
I think I have to go 64. I mean, Ocarina of Time was just a mainstay. And I mean, Mario 64 was something else when that came out.
Yeah, I look at the Saturn too, and like you listen to people talk about like let's exclude, you know, all the stuff that came out in Japan. Because you kind of have to, but like from an American audience, even the stuff that is held in the highest regards, like Nights into Dreams, Panzer Dragoon, what's that? The Firefighters one, like Burning Rangers. Even its shiny examples have aged poorly, and I just, yeah, I don't want to give it to the 64, but I think it has to be.
I think Nintendo 64. I'm not saying it was perfected, but just that couch co-op experience
There's that.
Was so great. You know, when you're talking about GoldenEye, even if you hated the system, I bet you played the crap out of GoldenEye with your friends endlessly.
And Mario Kart.
The
wrestling games, yeah.
Oh yeah. Those were great.
Yeah, the wrestling games. How did we not touch on that? Yeah.
You just do a battle royale. It was like we're putting 100 guys into this ring. I just think, as much as we hate the system, there's still a lot of memories with it, and some of the things that they were doing were ahead of the game. So I'm picking 64.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Okay. These next two are going to go faster. Atari Jaguar against PlayStation. Anybody for Jaguar? Going once, going twice. All right, PlayStation wins.
PlayStation wins.
This is going to be funny because we're going to come up in an interesting bracket at the end of this because the next one up is 3DO PlayStation 2. I'm just going to go ahead and give it to
Push us
PlayStation
through.
2. Yep, which will be fun coming back to because we are going to be pairing the PS1 version versus the PS2.
Ooh.
All right, so these next ones are going to be a little more interesting. We got PlayStation 3 versus Super Nintendo. I'm inclined to just say Super Nintendo.
I think that we can all agree with that.
All right.
Yep.
SNES
These are easier than the first round.
Yes. Next one, this should be easy too. Switch versus Xbox. Anybody going to die on the Xbox hill?
No.
Okay.
Switch, push it through.
NES versus Intellivision.
Well, funny you should say. Have a deep love for that Intellivision. Yeah,
Moving
NES.
on, NES. Sega Genesis versus Neo Geo AES. I mean, hardware-wise, the AES makes sense. The library-wise, the legacy-wise, I can't argue against the Genesis, in my opinion.
I still like the Neo Geo.
All right, well, we're killing the Neo Geo.
I know, but love the graphics of that, bringing your arcade home.
It is.
It's fantastic.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
It's badass hardware. Andy's
And you get to walk around with a cartridge of that size.
The textbook, yeah. All right. I hate that this is moving so far through. This is pissing me off. The Xbox Series versus the N64. It's the 64, right?
I don't know. All right, hold on a second.
What exclusive game is there on the Xbox Series X?
There isn't.
Right.
It's all the games.
So at this point, are you fighting over games or just system?
Well, I play a lot of the Xbox Series X. It's a non-starter. Like it's such a nothing.
I think we're arguing about something that revolutionized the industry, not necessarily knowing how to do it, compared to something that was like iterated on to perfection. And that's what I think. I mean, it is the Xbox at this point. Everything that they built up from the beginning is now perfected into what it is now.
But it's not even that good.
I disagree.
They're Netflix.
I think it's good. I love that you can
people will murder us over this decision. You understand?
The chat is great. I don't know. Every kid has one.
No, they don't. They have PlayStation 5s
do.
and Switches.
No, they don't.
The Xbox is sold like dog crap.
I don't have one PlayStation in my house.
Yeah, well, that's
and so I speak for the world.
These polls that you speak of don't seem to be an accurate swath of the population.
Oh man.
Go to any store right now. You can't there's a PlayStation section, a Switch section, and an Xbox controller and a Game Pass card. I mean,
because they're all sold out.
No,
games are sold out.
That is literally not the problem. I'm going 64 as much as it pains me, but it's up to you two.
I think I have to go 64 too. I just can't turn around on some of those games, but
it doesn't matter what I want at this point. Just move it along.
Neither one of those was going to win this thing. Just
no.
We don't know.
No, I would not allow that. I
might find a hill to die on.
All right. So next up is a good one. It's PlayStation versus PlayStation 2.
That's interesting. I like PlayStation 2. I mean, I think PlayStation 1 was great, but I think PlayStation 2 really perfected it. I love the games that came out on it that were even just using some of the peripherals like a Guitar Hero guitar was so different. You know, it just the drum kit, all of those kind of like oddities that stuck around. And you know they were good because every thrift store has 500 of them, just like the Wii Fit boards.
I think I'm going PS2 as well. I mean, it was the first one that I looked at and was like, this. Some of these graphics look like real life. I mean, obviously now you still go back, but like Gran Turismo when that came out, it's like these cars look real. These are real cars, and I mean, obviously now it looks silly to look at that, but
yeah. I mean, with the PlayStation 2, we're talking a console that the hype was so huge on that it literally stopped the most successful console launch of all time, the Dreamcast, dead in its tracks. In anticipation of in 9 months the PlayStation 2 is coming, I'm not buying a Dreamcast. Like that's how fever pitch it was and how like breakthrough its graphics were at the time. And it is backwards compatible with the PlayStation, so it really helped the original PlayStation have a longer life and keep those budget titles and, you know, kid-friendly titles coming well into the PlayStation 2's life cycle. And like you said, the DVD player, like it was retailing for the same price as a DVD player at the time.
yeah, yep.
So I think its legacy, I think the PlayStation was groundbreaking, but I think the legacy of the PlayStation and its library as a whole, yeah, I'm with you guys. PlayStation 2 it is. All right.
How many are we at? Are we at the Elite 8 or Sweet
Yes,
16?
we're at the Elite 8 right now.
Yes.
All right, so the next one is Super Nintendo versus Nintendo Switch.
Oh. This is tough.
I mean, the Switch has got Tears of the Kingdom, which is also
You
on
can
the Wii U.
play Super Nintendo Online.
Yeah, you can do that. Get those Koei Tecmo games that they just dropped so graciously for us. It's somewhat figured out online gameplay and friend stuff. It hasn't figured out chat. Its library is solid. It's also, I think we're forgetting now because there's so many more options that are comparable and getting easier, but it let us take like 30 FPS locked AAA titles on the go very accessibly in the years that it launched in 2017. And that wasn't an experience a lot of people had.
They got the stupid Joy-Cons, though, that you have to use for controllers, which suck.
It does suck.
Mine are all broken, and I'm not buying any new ones yet until the new thing comes out. Yeah. Outside of Zelda, is there a landmark Nintendo game that came out, launched on Switch?
Bayonetta 2.
That was Wii U.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both Zeldas. So you're getting like two incredible games.
Well,
Yeah.
the first one came out on the Wii U though too.
But it was launched for Switch, though.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, Mario. I liked Mario Odyssey a lot when it came out, but it still is. It's not one that I want to go back to, like other ones.
I mean, like Nate said, Super Mario World.
Mhm.
What are you going to say against that?
I'm trying to read game titles and see if there's anything else that sticks out.
Because if you include the library and we say greatest games of all time, we can make an argument for Breath of the Wild, I think probably, but like a top 10 list, you're gonna have Metroid, Super Metroid. You're gonna have Link to the Past, given.
Super
Chrono Trigger.
Mario World. Oh, Chrono Trigger.
Super Mario World, yeah.
D-Force. It's gonna keep on throwing that out there. Uniracers.
You would say stunt effects, but I think I'm on the other side of that.
Yeah, I love stunt race effects.
All the Mega Mans.
I mean, there's a shitload of games that are greater than Nintendo Switch, also, right? But they're also on everything at this point. Where that Super Nintendo library for its time was exclusive to that console, and like the sound design, you know, that pivot at the end with the FX chips and the things they were pulling off in 2D.
Mm-hmm.
Where the legacy towards the end of the Switch has been like, how horrendous will this thing run? You know what I mean? Like Tears is rough.
Most of those Super Nintendo games like are smooth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not a mess. You know, they're man.
I'm gonna go to Super Nintendo. I think I have to go Super Nintendo. I could go either way, but I think it's got to.
Wow, that's hard.
Legacy. So you guys are gonna have to decide it.
Super Nintendo is just a good pure console too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
From the controller to the console to everything involved. It's
how many people do you know that had a Super Nintendo that broke? Like,
right.
I literally in rage would take that controller and just freaking nunchuck that thing onto the ground, and they work. I'm still using those controllers to this day. If you look at your Joy-Con wrong, it doesn't work.
But it's hard to look past those Zelda games on the Switch. It's really hard to look past those.
Yeah.
And so then this is where I'm dividing, like, am I looking strictly at games or am I looking at the system and what it accomplished? I'm picking Super Nintendo.
All right.
Oh, that's a hard one.
All right. Andy's vote.
Sorry, man.
Would you pick Super Nintendo? Or?
I think Super. I mean, yeah, just the games. You just there's just too many good games on the Super Nintendo.
All right, this one's probably going to be a hot topic one. This last one here, before we go into the final two, NES versus Genesis.
Oh gosh, this has been. They've been talking about this for a millennia.
Genesis came out in '89, beat the PlayStation or the Super Nintendo to the punch, so it was directly competing against the NES for a couple of years.
Well, those games in '89 were a little rough, but
they were not great when the NES was good.
Man, I'm sticking with NES on this. The nostalgia is way deeper.
I would be betraying every fiber of my being if I also didn't side with the NES. So I guess we're killing the Sega.
You can't have two Nintendo boys against Andy.
Andy's like, I love Sega.
But I can't come up with an argument against it. You know, to vote for Sega. I mean, nostalgically, that's what I would go for. But realistically, when you're talking games, it's hard to.
It's so tough too in hindsight because the Sega gets such a bad rap in the fact that like they're no longer in the console game. Like, sure, we're still getting Sega stuff, but like, you know, it's not the console wars anymore. Like, they're not a manufacturer, so they don't have some of that continued love that I think Nintendo benefits from.
Right. I'll let it die here because I don't want to have the Super Nintendo versus Genesis. Because then I'll really be conflicted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So would a lot of people. All right. Final four. It's 64 against PlayStation 2. There is no way in hell that I'm letting the 64 go any further than
Okay,
this.
hold on a second. What's our remaining four? Just so I can recap.
It's N64 against PlayStation 2 and then Super Nintendo against NES. So we're gonna have to kill a baby
Oh.
on the second one for sure.
That's interesting.
Every time we do these things, I'm just like, God, we suck at this. Like when we did our like 100 like top 100 games of all time or something, or top 10, and I don't know. I'm going PlayStation 2 against the 64.
It was a nice Cinderella story for the 64, but
not for me. It was painful.
Ah.
It's 2 on
Yeah,
1.
I'll
You're
do
already
PlayStation
lost.
2. I'll do
right.
PlayStation 2.
It's unanimous. Okay.
Just slapping the people that say Nintendo 64 is the best system that has ever been created, which I hear all the time. So this goes out to you. PlayStation 2 is way better.
We're doing the 60 or the Super
directly
Nintendo
at them.
versus the NES now.
I don't like this. If we win either way.
I still go back and play my NES more than I play my Super Nintendo, and I grew up with both of them. In fact, the Super Nintendo was the first console I ever bought with my own money, and I love a lot of the games on there. But I'm inclined to think that Super Mario Brothers 3 might be the greatest Mario of all time, at least 2D. And experiencing a console and a game like the original Mario Brothers, where it became a world and I wasn't contained to a single screen and I was adventuring, like that shit blew my mind as a kid. Same as like Zelda to a lesser extent because it had the screen scroll, but still, I can't separate myself from that. I think those things got perfected in like Super Mario World and A Link to the Past, but the fact that they came into being on that NES console and how like dominant the NES was, like that was in like what, 1 in every 3 homes in the United States. I mean,
Yeah,
it was everything. It was everything to me as a kid. The Nintendo was everything to me as a kid. I have to go with it.
I mean that's what everybody had at that point. Every single person you knew was talking about whatever NES games and trading them and borrowing them and all that stuff.
To this day, though, do you feel that 16-bit look holds up a little bit better?
Yeah,
Than
For sure.
no question.
So yeah, I go back and play the NES, but the Super Nintendo art style and all that still holds up. Where you're like, this still like it looks good. It's not like I kind of see it. There are some very clear, like visually great looking games on the NES. There's quite a few of them, but the Super Nintendo really holds up. Like it stands the test of time.
Well, and I think there's something to be said. Maybe, I mean, this might be wrong to factor it in, but like, I don't know that the NES can take down the PS2. I think the Super Nintendo could. If I'm being
so
honest
now
with
you're just
myself.
you're playing the bracket. You're not even. You're like a Nintendo product has to win.
No, not necessarily. Like it would be tough for me to say. I don't know. I just think like the
I could
disparity
say it
in
either way.
libraries.
We know where I'm going.
So I guess we got a 1-1, and Andy, you're
That's oh my gosh. You're right. If I was going to play something today, it'd probably be something on Super Nintendo. Because you got Mario 3, which is probably one of the few things that it's like this is better on NES.
You can play it on All Stars.
It's true.
Yeah,
And
true.
it is better.
I'm saying Super Nintendo. Ugh, I don't like it. But I did.
This hurts me way more because I fought in the war and I was on the opposite side. Boy, I think it might have to be Super Nintendo.
Okay, I think that was.
I'm sorry, NES. I'm sorry, NES.
The RPGs. I mean, you think about all the RPGs on the Super Nintendo too.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay, this is it for all the marbles.
Oh man.
An hour and 20 minutes into this conversation, almost. PlayStation 2 or Super Nintendo? Greatest console of all time.
This is like a number 16 that snuck through the bracket and is playing whatever the number one team is in sports. I'm going to say it's the North Carolina. It's the Duke. It's the Duke of basketball or video games.
Yeah, this is a tough one.
Do you have more memories with the PlayStation 2?
I have as many.
Really?
Yeah, I do too.
Interesting.
I mean, we didn't even get into like the SOCOM revolution and like the stuff the PlayStation did later on. You know, it did introduce a hard drive. It had EverQuest Online. It had a Final Fantasy Online. It had Twisted Metal Black, which is arguably the best Twisted Metal of all time and the last proper one. Devil May Cry was fucking amazing.
D-Force. Uniracers.
Uniracers. They both have comparable libraries for the amount of games. I think where their PlayStation 2 probably edges it out. But I mean, the Super Nintendo had what, over 500? Am I mistaken? I think the PlayStation 2 is in the 700, 800 range, maybe.
Oh, I think it's like 2,000 or something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I think I'm going PS2. I'm kind of surprised by it, but I'm thinking about all my memories and everything, and that was the time that I enjoyed video games the most, I think.
Ryan, where do you sit? We're gonna do one by one here.
I mean, I don't like either choice. Like, it's hard. I mean, it should so easily be the Super Nintendo, but it's hard to argue with everything the PlayStation 2 brought, the hype behind it, the backwards compatibility, the DVD. I mean, the Super Nintendo iterated and innovated to some extent, but it didn't do. I mean, the PlayStation 2 is literally the best-selling console of all time, is it not? Or did the Switch finally take that over?
Yeah, I don't know if it could have. I'm not sure what the deal is on that.
And I think like I probably played more Xbox in that era, but I still played a lot of PlayStation 2. A lot of couch co-op PlayStation 2. I mean, I did a lot of Super Nintendo as well. I think for what it did for the industry, though, I don't think Super Nintendo was as groundbreaking and had as long of a lasting impact as what the PlayStation 2 did for its generation. So I might have to go PlayStation 2, I think.
Wow. I didn't think that was going to
Wow. I picked Super Nintendo.
All right.
Just anybody that's listening and watching this, I'm your guy. Just know I'm not going to let Nintendo die.
All right. So, round of applause for the PlayStation 2. The greatest video game console of all time.
It seemed like a lot of work to
According
get
to
to
us.
a disappointing end.
Yes.
Can we get GameCube back into this conversation, or
No. We're moving on. All right. That was rough. This is not where I thought we would end up in this at all, but
Just a dark place now. Nothing's right in the world.
I think we got to? I mean, the 64 shouldn't have been there, but the other three were
yeah,
top fours. Yep.
I agree. All right. That took longer than expected, so now we got to answer a ton of questions here. This is going to be a long recording. Let's I got pop-up happening on the screen. Let's get to questions. So we reached out. I posted it on Blue Sky. We switched over to Blue Sky. I don't have a bunch of people following us there yet, so I don't know how many people that landed with, but we did get questions from a few people. A couple people in particular, longtime listeners. You've heard us talk about both of them on the podcast if you listen regularly, but we're going to start off with Fraser from R3 Podcast. He says, well, hello there. How goes my favorite podcast? It's very nice. The idea that we're anybody's favorite is very, I questioned his taste in podcasts.
Yeah.
But he's got 10 questions for us, and he says we can answer them all or not. He's indifferent, but we're gonna go through them all. Question number 1: what have been some of the issues you guys have had to overcome in doing the podcast? I think for me, it's just like from having come from a YouTube background where it was interactive and you built a community, doing a podcast feels a lot like just throwing something into a void. And it's hard to sometimes find the motivation to keep doing it when you can't really gauge it, right? Like, I don't know. It just seemed that was the challenge for me, I think.
Right. Even with like when we get questions like this or, a response from people, it's almost like surprising that like, oh, somebody listened,
Right? Yeah. There are people out there.
Yeah. And I think just like on the editing and the procedure of that, just trying to nail that down for years and years and years, I'm still not even close to being a professional on what that should be. So
I think you've gotten good
it.
at
I spent this week listening to a lot of our early stuff, and it's gotten a lot better since then.
Yeah. I think we've gotten better at talking on mic too, and knowing how to interact. So, Nate, any challenges from you?
Time was always a struggle. Early on when we do, actually the episodes were probably a little bit shorter than they are now, or what I've been listening to. I think it was just like, how do you balance doing a 2-hour thing with family? And just at that time we were all battling like bedtimes with kids, and I mean, trying to figure out like when is the best time to do this. And then for one person was like, well, Wednesdays don't work, so let's move Mondays. And then it was Tuesdays. And so staying consistent was difficult just because of time and life.
Right. Well, and then, we play games for the podcast outside of this, and that always was a struggle. Sometimes you had plenty of time and you'd get in depth on something, and the next time you just didn't have the time to go through it the way you want to.
Yeah, when we were doing like the full 3-game Byron Burn, like, that was, minimum of an hour of your time, which was hard enough to find. And which sounds crazy, but yeah.
I think the greatest stretch for me was jumping into it. I was really one-sided on video games. I didn't really know much outside the NES because I really didn't care. And so when I jumped into the podcast, it was like, you guys were talking about everything. And I'm like, I don't have anything to contribute. I don't have anything that I can talk about outside of retro NES games. And so that was always a stretch where I'm like researching and trying to figure out like, what the heck are you even talking about at this point? But it was, it kind of broadened my video game knowledge.
And poisoned you is what you're saying.
Yeah.
You ruined me.
You grew the sickness. Yeah.
Well, it might be the other way around because now we barely talk about video games. So.
Right. It's not. It's barely a video game podcast anymore. This next one is good. This is the second question. Who is your favorite Spice Girl and why? I'll go first. It's Ginger Spice. I married a redhead. If I didn't pick her, if that doesn't give you some insight, Ginger all the way. So.
I'm trying to go through the list.
Well, yeah, like sporty, naughty, baby, posh,
naughty.
Ginger.
Who is naughty?
No,
wasn't it naughty? Or
scary.
There you go. Yes,
naughty.
Scary, naughty.
That's a whole different Spice Girl lineup. Baby, which I don't feel right saying, but just
I think it's a multifaceted, like a multi-generational question at this point, because I was 10 when they got big. And I think Baby was probably the one for me at that point. But as I grew, I think Scary became more of like the personality. See, they should have made her a little bit more goth That would have been. They missed out on a huge demographic there.
The fact that nobody picked Posh Spice is shocking to me. I mean,
Which one is
that woman is still gorgeous.
Which one is Beckham's
Yeah, that's
wife?
Posh.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I have no idea. I just took a shot and thought it was Baby.
No, Baby's the one that dressed up like a baby, which makes me a little creeped out by the two of you. But whatever your kink is, that's fine.
She was a
Dressed like a
blonde with
baby?
blue hair.
She had the ponytails. Yeah.
She did not dress like a baby.
That was her whole MO, dude. She had like
Like
teddy
she's
bears
walking
and
around
stuff.
in a onesie.
Yes.
More like
Like
a. She was more like a
footy
Barbie.
pajamas?
More like a. I don't know. I think you're both crazy.
All right.
It's clearly
Okay.
Ginger. But whatever.
Okay, I'll support that.
So number 3, what are your top 3 podcasts you guys are currently listening to?
Well, R3, of course.
Yes.
I enjoy the Fire Escape podcast because that one is completely unhinged in some of the greatest ways.
I mean, any podcast where a man with full conviction says butthole adjacent mac and cheese is still mac and cheese and means it is a podcast you should be listening to.
Yes, I mean you got to start from the top on that conversation to get there, and it's a journey every single episode. And then the Stone Age Gamers. That's Chris and Dan.
Yes.
Some great personalities, and I usually jive with a lot of what they're saying on the games that they're playing.
Yeah, I would probably throw Kegcast into the mix as well. I listen to them regularly, but for sure, like my non-skips are Fire Escape, Stone Age Gamer, and then R3. R3's I appreciate that those guys are monthly because it like gives me the chance to digest them. Because sometimes I'll go like a week where I don't get to listen to a podcast, and I never catch back up on all of them. I'd probably give a nod to the Go Nintendo podcast also. I don't listen to them regularly anymore, but I do enjoy them. You listening to podcasts these days, Nate?
I don't listen to podcasts.
You just guessed on them?
I would say I listen to Weekend Rental. Not
In
regularly.
preparation for this episode?
No, I do listen to you guys as much as I can, and that's about it. I
knew you
listen to
didn't
a lot of work ones.
I knew you didn't listen for a good stretch when you messaged me about Vampire Survivors and how great it is, and you're like, "Have you played it?" I'm like, "Have you listened to any of like the last 10 episodes of the podcast?"
I stopped messaging you anything about video games because you're clearly not listening to what we just talked about, and then I felt really bad. So I was like, I'm just always going to stick with, "Hey, how's it going? Now, have you checked this game out?"
People fall off. I get it. This next one's fun. So his 4th question is murder, marry, bone, Korean food, Indian food, Mexican food. And he says, I mean the good food, not whatever Taco Bell is, or whatever the Korean or Indian equivalent of Taco Bell is, which I don't know what that would be.
Okay, slow down, repeat.
So it's going to be murder, marry, bone, Korean food, Indian food, or Mexican food.
I'm gonna marry Mexican food.
Okay.
I mean, even Taco Bell, I'll throw it in that mix, but chips and salsa, you can't go wrong with that ever. Then I guess Korean food, which I can get down with. That's pretty good. And what was the third option?
Indian.
Yeah, hard
Okay,
pass.
you didn't know what it is, but you're going to kill it.
Hard pass. I just don't. I'm not a big curry guy.
Sure.
It's not my thing.
I think I'm going the same exact route on that. I am the stereotypical white guy, and I do not explore too many other foods outside of that. And
You're a meat and potatoes
I've
guy.
slowly
Yeah.
been forcing you over the last 10 years.
yeah. I mean, a tomato is about the hottest pepper I'll eat. So I do enjoy Korean barbecue. That's amazing. And a lot of authentic Mexican. It's really good, but I'll still probably take Taco Bell over that, which is pretty hard to say. If I could cheat on all of these with Chinese food, that's what I'm doing.
I'll do that 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm gonna murder Indian food. I love Indian food. But that the spices, it's a time and place. I can't do that every day. I love a good naan and that. So I'm gonna murder that. I'm gonna bone Mexican food because I like it a lot. But I think in the grand scheme of things, Mexican like culinary depth is pretty lacking. And I'm gonna marry Korean food because there's just so many good seasonings and flavors. I mean, Korean food has some curries too, to some level. And then there's the bulgogi beef, kimchi. You can just hand me a cup of that, and I'll just eat that plain. I love it. We eat Korean food often, and I cook quite a bit of it at home now too. So going that way. Fifth question: is there a segment you guys tried that didn't work? Oh, that you wish did. I'm sorry. I'm struggling at reading because I'm stupid. So is there a segment that you guys tried that didn't work that you wish did, or one that did work that you wish didn't?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the structure has stayed pretty much the same. For me, it was, I wish David Crane's movie time would work better for me, but we were throwing, Buy Rent Burns in there, doing 3 games, trying to catch a movie and pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, it's like, I have nothing interesting to say about a movie. I'm just, there are so many great movie reviewers out there, and I'm just like, yeah, it was pretty good, liked it. My favorite scene was this. So I think that was a hard one for me to catch on. I wish it would have stuck for me personally, where I could actually get into it and speak about it well. But just never happened.
Well, if you want to hear 2 people do that well now, you can just subscribe to the Geek Patreon and get your Patreon exclusive David Crane's Amazing Movie Time every month.
Yeah.
The thing about that though is I think even our podcast about movies only works as if you've also seen the movie.
Yes,
like
you're terrible at it.
We're terrible at like introducing and trying to guide somebody through a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have seen it, I think you will be right there with us, along with our comments on a movie.
And hopefully the insane things we comment or at least intrigue you enough to go watch the films that we're not explaining worth a damn. Because that's the best part about David Crane's Amazing Movie Time is like we are so inadequate at guiding you through the movie that we won't spoil any of it for you. So it's the perfect movie review podcast, really.
Yep.
And by the end of it, we'll convince you that you watched a different movie than we did. So
yeah.
My first experience with that was when I listened to you guys before joining the podcast. I caught a David Crane's movie review, and it was of a tire. I can't remember the name of it.
No, we don't need to bring Tire back up.
Was it called Tire?
Yes,
Rubber.
it was Rubber.
Yeah,
so
and that
awful.
was the one that like.
Oh,
I was listening to this like I don't understand what you guys are even talking about.
Nobody
because I did not watch the movie, and I was like, they're just for an hour talking about a tire.
Andy still
I have to join this.
I love that movie, but I don't think there's people that you could watch that movie and still not necessarily know what's going on in that movie. So
right. Yeah. I would say the one segment that I wish had worked out that didn't was the one that we were going to do exclusively for Geekade's YouTube. And it was that like, I don't even know what we were going to call it, but we'd buy a game for the other person. And then you had to play it all the way through. And then if you didn't, we were basically going to like torture, like Jackass style torture. Like we were going to like if you didn't see it through, you were going to have to play
that was
through
on me.
World 1-1 with a shock collar on, and people could just randomly zap you. And it was this horrible timing of like, we were just like barely keeping the podcast together. The pandemic was coming around. We were just coming out of it, and like everyone's schedules sucked, and it just turned into like this big, stupid, like needless argument, which I have full stake in. And it just like it sucked. It ended poorly, and we realized that like even if we wanted to do this, it just wasn't going to work. Like we're too busy and too spread out, and I regret that we even tried it, to be honest. And it's funny because out of all of us, Andy was the only one that played. All
I
the way
beat
through.
my game, you assholes.
And I played like 30 minutes of Glover and was like, "Fuck it, zap me. I don't care."
I didn't even start mine.
I had Tangled on the 3D or on the DS or some shit. That was
And what Nate had like Mickey's Magical Mirror, I think, for the GameCube.
Yeah.
That's the one I bought. Yeah, great idea. There was no way with our time.
Yeah.
That's probably a big challenge for a lot of things is when we're in 3 different locations.
Yes.
I mean, Ryan and I were in the same city, but
yeah,
it's a challenge when you're kind of spread out, and it's just how do you execute it well?
Yeah, and how do you have a space? I mean, and the harder part is, especially when you throw in video into the mix, is like how do you have a space to shoot that's like you're not wasting tons of time setting up, and it would have been cool. We recorded 1/3 of that project, and we just never got the back half. I don't know, whatever. That one bummed me out a little bit for multiple reasons.
Yeah. And the one I was going to say was we did the fail bag where we would answer questions from old Nintendo Power.
I love it.
Yeah. I forgot
And that was
about
fun,
that.
but it turned into, I mean, it's a lot of work to go through
Yes.
all these scans to find things. And then I think we got most of the good ones. And then it started, there's not much left after.
I still love that. Like by the third
episode,
by the third episode, we'd instructed a child to put arsenic like in his parents' hot dish and murder them. So I was like, this segment has gone way off the rails. No, it was rat poison. That's what it was. Rat poison in the crock pot. God,
and then it came down to like just quick answers. You'd read this like fail bag forever, and at the end we're like, that's stupid. Move on. And then it's like all that work for just the stupid.
We should bring that back for like once a year where we just spend like a little bit of time like curating like a handful of like gems, because there was some good stuff.
Oh, that was fun.
I totally forgot about the fail bag, which is also such a great solution. Like we talked about, like how you're podcasting into a void. So it's like, well, if nobody's emailing you, like this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, right. Getting emails from 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's so great. Forgot about that. Okay. So this next one, it's Saturday night. No one is home and everything that needs to be done is done. Your fridge is fully stocked. What's your go-to snack, food, or drink for a night of movie binging or gaming?
You guys already know. You already know.
Swiss rolls.
Me and Little Debbie.
From the freezer, right?
Me, yeah.
Are you sure it's not
freezer.
The fiddle diddle?
The fiddle diddle. No, I'm not much into organic snacks now. But Little Debbie, so bad for you. And the older I get, I'm like, these things are so bad, but they are so good.
Have you tried the Little Debbie ice cream that they make now?
No.
It's very good also. It's trash because it's just like ice cream with Swiss rolls, like Little Debbie Swiss rolls in there.
You had my attention on Little Debbie ice cream.
Yeah. Andy, how about you?
Pretty much anything salty.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I guess I'd go with nuts. Like I'm a big fan of like wasabi almonds, and then like I'll sprinkle a few cashews. Like I make my own mix. Like I get like bags of nuts and just.
Gosh, you guys make me feel like a pig. You guys are like, yeah, good healthy things, and I'm like,
oh, mine's not healthy.
I mean, nuts are not particularly great. There's a lot of cholesterol in those, and like fatty acids, and not good stuff. Everything in moderation, though, right?
That's what they say.
Number 7, is there a podcast or YouTube channel that you would love to be a guest on, and why? No, because I do this show and I've done a YouTube channel, so one would think that I'm not like horribly introverted, but me guesting on someone else's podcast has me like so strung out and like usually just freaking out, and then I feel like complete shit after I do it because I'm like always second guessing everything I said. Like, was that a shitty thing to say? Like, did I sound like an idiot? So no, I don't I don't want to guess on it. I just want to enjoy the product. And yeah, that's my answer.
Podcasts are really hard to go on with somebody else if you don't know the flow of how they talk.
Sure.
And you're not used to them, because then you start talking over each other a lot, and it's tough. And yeah, I'm the same way. Like, at this point, we're not out there to try to
Build the
like
brand.
gain an audience or anything, right? It is what it is right here. So yeah, I don't know if I get any more enjoyment out of being on a podcast than I would just listening to that podcast I enjoy.
Yes. Nate?
I'm introverted, so doing something like this is a lot for me. And so I can't imagine sitting in a room with strangers. I mean, I've done it for like work or whatever, but it stresses me out on a long term to know like we're going to talk for 2 hours and it's going to stress me out. Like I just don't have an interest.
Yeah. There's your answer. We're all a bunch of freaks.
Like, why are we listening to this?
And you know, honestly, we've guested and had Fraser and Chris on, and those have been very fun experiences, but they are a little stressful for me, even though like I've gotten to know those guys at this point. So number 8, what was the last movie that has made you cry? I don't know about you guys, but like I've had kids and I'm like in my early 40s now. So like pretty much anything will make me tear up. Like I usually find myself sitting on the couch next to my wife, like trying to hold back the fact that I have a tear welling up in my, so like, I don't even know what it is, but probably just whatever I just watched. Like literally.
Yeah, I recently had that same thing happen where we watched a movie called Flow, which is about animals basically being in a flood and like how they handle it. And my kids were kind of like sad about it. And that's what triggered it, where it was like, oh, my kids, I'm for whatever reason, when my kids got sad about it, then triggered the misty eyes in me. But yeah, weird.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, none of that stuff would ever happen. I don't know what it is, but that changes, you know?
Yeah, it's a weird change. Nate?
A Walk to Remember, Mandy Moore.
Oh, yeah.
My daughter was watching this with my wife and I, and there's like a sad scene. Well, the whole movie's sad for the most part, and like she was just bawling. And I think there was this scene where the guy runs to his dad's house because he doesn't know what to do and just needs help, and she like looked over to me and she's like, "Dad, don't ever leave me." And then I was like, "This is really sad." So I guess A Walk to Remember would be the last one.
Yeah.
They're remaking that.
Are they really?
I think so.
What? Like the sequel to it? Or like
I don't know what you do with that sequel.
Like where are you going? Like A Walk to Forget? I don't know how I feel about that.
I gotta remake everything.
Leave it be. Switchfoot did that like whole soundtrack, which was actually quite good. So
that's a throwback.
Yeah.
Remember that
there you
band
go.
that had that one song from 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Switchfoot. What was their song?
I mean, they had a ton of them. Dare You to
No,
Move.
they had one. Nobody listened to Switchfoot.
I still listen to them.
I have it running in my head, but I can't.
Dare You to Move was the big one.
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah, I only know one of their songs, quite literally.
Okay.
Sorry. Didn't mean to yuck your yum. So number 9, any advice for people who are looking to start a podcast? Sure.
Don't.
I mean,
just joking.
Do it for you, I guess. Like, do it if you want to, if you have something fun to say, or you know, if you're passionate about it. Don't do it to, I mean, don't think you're going to be like a Joe Rogan or anything even remotely on that scale. And if you're doing it to make money, maybe don't.
Mm-hmm.
If you're passionate about a subject, or if you want to talk to interesting people and you got a way to do it efficiently and you enjoy doing it, that's what you should do. Just
I think it's point and purpose, like you said, just understanding it. Why are you doing it? What are you trying to accomplish with it? Are you, for a lot of us, podcast or even like some of the YouTube stuff we were doing, we thought we were the only ones in our communities that did this stuff, and then we realized we're like in the same community, and that was really fun, where you could just connect with people and talk about video games and not feel like weird about it, where people are like, yeah, I also do this. I also go to thrift stores and try to find games for 50 cents or, whatever. So I think just understanding point and purpose of what you're doing and why you're doing, because I mean, for you guys, 8 years in, 200 episodes, as far as I know, nobody's retired off of the podcast. And so that means that passion drives it. And I think that's superior to all things anyways.
It's sad because I went to the pawn shop and I tried to hawk my lawnmower 4.0 from Manscaped, and they wouldn't take it. I tried to profit off this thing,
Did you not clean it? Did you just leave it?
Well, there might have been some stragglers, I can't see them. I'm getting old. I can't see all that. Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. Last question. This one's just for Andy. So question 10. This question is just for Andy. What is it like working with someone, Ryan, that doesn't want to admit that he loves the Nintendo GameCube and feels it is the best system to date? So is it, we had this whole like argument, him and I, when I told him what we were doing for the podcast about determining the best console of all time, and he was like, "Oh, easy, GameCube." To which I was like, "You were insane. What do you mean? Like, that's not easy. That's..." So yeah, it was pretty hilarious. And then he was sending me memes.
I think it comes down to like you're a big Atari Jaguar fan.
Yeah.
And that console has a lot of curves to it. Whereas the GameCube is a lot of sharp edges, and I think it kind of intimidates you a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's either that or, it's kind of like the people that denounce gay people the most are sometimes the most closeted gays, right? So
are you calling me gay? I'm confused now.
No, I think you're a closeted GameCube fan. You just don't want to admit that you love this purple thing with buttons that
that's good
for children.
As a podcast that has shared many a bed on road trips, game hunting, and at conventions, if you were worried that I was a closet homosexual, you took some chances, my friend. So, not that there's anything wrong with that. Or loving the GameCube, I guess. But I don't know. It's the GameCube. Come on. We saw how the bracket worked out. Just doesn't hold a candle. All right. And he says, thanks for all the laughs, guys. You're very welcome. All right, moving on to our next batch of questions. So Fraser came in with 10 and reached out to Cestus. He came back with 25, which is wild. The fact that either one of them took any amount of time to put this together is amazing. So thank you, Fraser. Cestus, thank you. We're going to go through these questions here. He says, I do have several questions for this 200th. I'm going to give you the 200th special quiz. So we'll start going through these. He's got some that are pretty challenging too. I've glanced through them. Number 1, what is your best memory about the podcast so far? Oof. I don't know. The MGC trips, like some of the game hunting trips, like back when the half off sale was happening, like that stuff was great. Pre-pandemic stuff before everything got weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, a lot of this, none of us would have really got to know each other as much as we have either without this podcast. So,
right.
I mean, pretty much every memory comes from this podcast almost. So,
Nate? He looks deep in thought, like he's just like, oh, I'm so wistful.
It is. There's, I mean, tons of memories. This was seriously like meeting friends and connecting with people that were like-minded and enjoyed video games. I mean, that was like every episode and every trip that we took. I think that was just really fun. And I like go back and sitting like some of the dumb conversations that we would just laugh until we wheeze on, like, I can't, what was the conversation on like best controller to like,
oh yeah, your anus, yes.
Like it was like, why are we even talking about this? And to like understand that like we are professional people during the day, and then we're like laughing and giggling like kids at this stupid thing,
which also gives the listener some hindsight as to why you became Biff for a while there. We are professional people during the day.
Yes, we are professional people during the day. And so that was just, I mean, just some of those memories, like talking about stupid things and just laughing. It's so great.
Nice. I fully agree. All right. Number 2. What is your worst memory about the podcast so far? For me, it was Justin leaving. I don't know how many listeners we have who have been here since the beginning. I think Justin. So it was originally Andy, Justin, and I founded the podcast, and I think Justin made it a little over a year. He made it to like episode 30. He was a good close friend, one of my closest friends for well over a decade, and then I understood him not wanting to do the podcast anymore. But then it was kind of one of those things where it's just like, he didn't do the podcast anymore. The next thing, we're not gaming as much anymore. And then now he's somebody that like I get a text from or shoot a text to like once a year. And like, that's pretty hard for me, but it happens. So that's kind of a bummer when I look back at how this all started.
Yeah. I mean, that is a bummer. And it, you know, all of that gets in the, it's life that gets in the way. Right.
Yeah.
And then things change. Even, you know, what COVID has done to a lot of our habits is just kind of wrecked a lot of things, you know? Even like I was thinking about my favorite podcast. I used to listen to podcasts all the time, and now I hardly do. And that was like a COVID thing, which is weird. You would think it'd be the opposite way, but that's right. It all changed just a little bit, right?
Yeah. Any dark thoughts, Nate?
So many.
How about that time at MGC where I was awoken to a very angry Nate punching the shit out of me because I apparently got a little too snuggly on the other side of the bed?
Not. I still don't recall this.
Oh, dude, I've never seen so much rage in your eye, and I was like completely lost as to what happened there. But
it was a rough trip. I think when you're sleeping in a bed with Ryan.
Hey, at least we were head to toe.
Days, we were head to toe, but man, you were ripping them like crazy, which was exhausting, and like my gag, like I just wanted to throw up most of that trip. Hardest thing for me, I think it's pretty clear. I've shared this a little bit with Ryan, like leaving the podcast the way I did was pretty difficult. I think I was going through like a ton of stuff at that point, ton of mental stuff, and had pretty big breakdown. And so I think that was just weird. And then just like, how do you have conversations afterwards and act like everything's fine when it was a little weird? So even like coming back on something like this was fun, but I was like, man, it's been a long time, and apparently 3 years, which I didn't realize that it's been that long. But it was tough for me to like cut something out that brought a lot of joy to me.
Well, we're glad you're back on this one, bud.
Yeah, it's fun.
For newcomers, what episode or episodes should they go back to? This is hard because a lot of
And I don't even
them are-
remember the numbers.
No, I really like. So it's tough because it's hard to recommend going back because I think
Go back to the episode where I first appear.
yeah,
That's the best one.
31, I think. But like the show has transformed so much, and like what it is now, I really like a lot. So it's hard to recommend. Like, I mean, I do like the old stuff too, but it's just like I don't know if it's indicative entirely of. I really like the first episode that we did for Geekade, which I think is like 60 something, 68, 63. And it's the one where I open up immediately upon being brought onto a new podcast platform. I tell a 20-minute story about ripping a like poop dam out of my cat. So I always think back on that was a great first impression. And I also really liked, we don't do guests a lot anymore because again, it's hard logistics, like, but I think that Patrick Hickey Jr. interview was a ton of fun, and that guy was
so great.
He was a really great guest. Like he just brought it and like fit in and had a great message. I liked that.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty much anything that's happening in Ryan's house, the stories that he has, is there's always something insane happening, whether you're like puking and slipping on it or like
My wife fainting. Yeah.
Yeah, your wife fainting. Yeah, pulling string out of your cat's ass. And yeah. But the other one I thought of, I came across was that there was one time that Nate brought a Bratz game for the Game Boy Advance to the Buy Rent Burn. And it just so happened that his microphone must have switched to his laptop or something. So it was really tinny. So we basically framed it as if we sent him, he was in jail for picking this Bratz game and he was calling in from jail. So it was pretty funny to.
I don't remember.
I forgot about that.
At all.
That's hilarious.
The MGC episodes are always good too. The years where we would like do the buy rent burn, but with which cut of meat was the best. I mean, those are train wreck episodes because they were like mostly just like Mike in the center of a room, zero edit, but those are fun.
Is that the one that did you catch it on the episode where security showed up at the door?
Yeah, so that's one.
Like,
there's one like
cut away, right?
Yeah. So yeah, they like bust into our room while we were recording, and then there's another one the year after that you're in on, I think, and we had Justin back and Justin's brother, so we just like had this circle after like filling up on Doc's smoked meats, and then there was also the year where Nate introduced us to the pie at Doc's, so then everyone was also ordering slices of pie afterwards.
So gross.
It was so bad.
I mean, the pie is delicious, but everything, like just thinking of how much we ate, disgusting.
That was the year that I spent more on Docs than I did on video games. Like I literally think I dropped like $250 on smoked meats and pie. Yeah. So I guess it's tough because like numbers are hard, but I don't know. Click around, you might find a gem.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4. Give your best video game related memories or stories. That one's going to take some thinking.
Is this related to the podcast or just in life in general?
Life in general.
Man, the first time I did the like pre-order for Nintendo Switch, stood outside, had some guy spitting coffee at me while he was talking about his excitement in his sweatpants, and
this is the best.
yeah, but it was by the time I got home. So I got my Nintendo Switch, got home, put Breath of the Wild in right away, and that was probably like 1 in the morning, 1:30, and like to see that like opening cutscene of like when you're walking out of the cave, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that I get to play this game, and like the excitement of yeah, just the excitement of being one of the first ones to play this game and to do it on that system, and it didn't disappoint. I still think of that, like, why I could have bought the Switch the next day and there wasn't like shortage. I was fine, but just that one memory where it was it was so fun. It was so fun.
I think what comes to mind for me is like having those sleepovers with friends where you'd rent a game or something like that. And out of my friend group, my parents were the only ones who didn't give a shit about, like, they just went to bed and just be like, whatever's going to happen happens over there. And we stayed up the entire, I mean, no sleep at all. Sent the kids home to their parents with zero sleep on a Sunday, and then they were not happy about it most of the time, but it was entertaining that most of my friends wanted to come over to my house because of that reason, that we got to stay up and play games. And yeah, a lot of 64 4-player stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I'd probably say something similar. Like, I had a couple cousins that were way, way older than me, and we happened to live in the same town at the time growing up, and they were the first people I ever knew that got a Nintendo Entertainment System at Christmas. I wasn't even aware of it at that age, and same thing. Like, begging our parents to let me stay over. Why they wanted to put up with like this 5-year-old kid? I don't know, but like, yeah, it happened multiple times. We'd have sleepovers and just play Nintendo and Mario Brothers all night long, and it's really cool. I mean, there's a million more too, but yeah, that one brings me back. Number 5, give your worst or most upsetting gaming memory or story. I think the one that has still traumatized me and embarrasses me still to this day was I had traded my neighbor. I let him take my Game Boy and all my Game Boy games in a straight trade, and then I had his Nintendo and Nintendo games, and we just swapped them for like whatever, a week. And I was like very into Blades of Steel at the time, and I would convince my dad to play with me. And I, like, one time after like I don't know how many games, like, my dad beat me and like jumped up and was like celebrating, and then like I immediately just like burst into tears like a little bitch and just like bawled in front of my dad. Like, it's so embarrassing and stupid, but yeah, that still haunts me.
Mine is trusting a third-party PlayStation 2 memory card.
Oh no.
So we'll leave it at that. That's
I mean, I had many endless times of buying a brand new NES game, not knowing what it's going to look like, and you're just looking at the packaging. This is going to be awesome. And then, run the game, and you're like, this sucks. I just spent my hard-earned money on something like this. I can't even remember what the games were, but there were plenty that were disappointing. Like any system, should have read my Nintendo powers.
Collectively, what was that like shitty game that we all played on the Xbox that I got gypped out of the end on?
Generation Zero.
Generation Zero. That more recently was so like soul crushing. Like that.
There was like
sucked.
However many of us all running to the finish line and doing different things we were not working as a team and just wanted to get through the game that night. You were so mad.
Because we've been talking about how it's like so hard to find the time, and like we had sunk like 40 to 50 hours in that game, and I get boxed out of like the end scene, and then just credits.
And then credits.
And then I can't revisit it because it's done now. Man, hate that game so much.
I forgot about that too. That's great. Generation Zero, shout out to you.
Hate that game.
That and the power washing.
Oh, the power.
We did that fountain.
That's still traumatic too. And then you guys get that picture of that rare achievement where you get like a 0.04% achievement or something stupid. Yeah, that was great. The Xbox just really dicked me over. Number 6. What is your favorite gaming platform and why? If you've been listening to the podcast this far, it's pretty easy to understand. NES. Nostalgia, nostalgia, nostalgia.
Genesis for me, but yeah, same thing.
NES.
Was that a yes or a ness? I couldn't
That
really
was both yes to the NES.
like it. Next question leads into that. It's number 7. What is your favorite game on that platform? That's tough, but I mean,
Super Mario 3.
Yeah,
Done.
Sonic 2.
good choice. All right, number 8. What is your least favorite platform and why? The N64 because it's an abomination. The controller is dog crap, and it's the worst. It is the worst entry in every mainline franchise in Nintendo that has appeared on that console.
Oh, I love coming back to a podcast, and seems like it never stopped. Just crapping all over the 64.
It sounds like you do like the GameCube then.
Better than the 64.
Nintendo Wii. I didn't like the motion controls, and I'm a lazy gamer and just like to sit in a beanbag and not move.
Mine was original Xbox, but we kind of went over that ground. Why?
Yeah. All right. Number 9. What console did you not expect to like so much? I mean, I could say the Jaguar, but honestly, the TurboGrafx 16 is probably the one that I encountered and was like almost instantly in love with, and that has continued to today.
I'm gonna say the PlayStation 3. That so many people dogged on that for forever, and I got one toward the end of its life and revisited a lot of games, and then the games coming out at the end were just amazing. Yeah. I mean, you got Last of Us and the Uncharted stuff. It was pretty incredible to see what was going on that system at that point. But
PlayStation 4. Just because it was the first time really stepping out to new gen stuff, and kind of blew my mind. I was like, graphics are better than NES. This is weird.
Things have evolved. Next question, number 10. What is your favorite game ever? God, that's hard.
Ask me a different day and I'll give you a different answer every time.
Yeah, I have a hard time pinning that down. I mean, one of the Mario games for sure, probably 3, or I could make an argument also for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are pretty tough to argue against. I have my own where I say Journey. I really love that game for a multitude of reasons, but it's not going to wow most people.
And I could argue Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons.
Well, that's a very specific to me type thing. So
yeah. I don't know that I could fully pin it down, but directionally those are picks. Number 11. What game would you set on fire? Its game developers included.
Oh my gosh, murder.
I don't know.
Generation Zero.
Maybe.
Sonic 4. That game is awful.
By Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5.
I
think that is all those people deserve to not make games ever again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Okay. Take the easy way out. Number 12. This one's tough too. What is your favorite gaming studio and game from that studio? I had a hard time with this one. I thought about it a lot, and I don't think I have a current one that I could pick. I mean, I thought about HAL, but I think my pick would probably be a defunct one, and that was Neversoft, and it would be PlayStation or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Because I just look back at that studio and what they did, and the tear they went on, and how they created that whole genre. like really committed themselves to like making a silly game about skateboarding as great as it was. I mean, there were a lot of competitors, and then they moved on to take over the reins of later entries in Guitar Hero, and then they got forced to work on Call of Duty before they were kind of disbanded. But if you look at everything they touched, I mean, they touched three of like the most impactful franchises of the last 15 to 20 years. So it's impressive. And that logo with the eyeball and the spike, that will forever live rent free in my head.
And the videos of like you actually got to see all the developers trying to skateboard.
Yes.
Those were so fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good answer. I'm going to be boring and say Naughty Dog.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I can't think of a game that they put out that I didn't really like. So
yeah, and they went on a tear too, like PlayStation 2 era, especially.
Mm-hmm.
HAL is my choice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, love it. Oh, and they made one of my favorite NES games, Kabuki Quantum Fighter. Love that game.
Oh yeah,
that's a deep cut.
It is, but like it plays so well. The music was so great, and
hair physics.
Yeah, and I just love the stuff that they were putting out on the NES.
Good pick. Number 13. What is your favorite gaming genre? Favorite game in that genre?
Platform. Mega Man.
Which one?
2.
Yeah, I'd probably go platform 2, and I would say Mario Brothers 3. Although Rayman Legends, just to resurface that battle, I would put it close.
It's pretty good. I'm going to say RPG, strategy, and simulations, and none of those I really have time to play anymore either. So,
would you say Stardew?
Yeah, those type of relaxing games too, I guess. Yeah. Time sinks.
Yes. 14. What is your least favorite genre? RPG.
RPG. I feel like the amount of time I just don't understand it. Turn based. Don't like it.
Spreadsheets. Number goes up. Mine's modern simulation sports.
Okay.
I still wanted. I don't know if you remember this conversation forever ago in an episode, but I wanted Andy to teach me to love RPGs.
Oh, I do recall that.
Where I was like, I want you to like force me to sit down and explain how it all works and teach me to love these things.
I'm scared to ever do something like that because I'm scared that I'm gonna teach myself that I hate them.
That's funny. All right. So number 15, to use a French YouTuber's question, back in Toys TV. Check that out. Your house is on fire. What is the one thing from your collection you save? Aside from your family, if you save them, we won't judge. I'll opt to save them. I don't know. One thing.
I would take my Sega Heartbeat game.
Oh yeah,
probably the one thing I should take.
The rarest Genesis game that nobody gives a fuck that you own, but they should. Yeah, I don't know.
I'd take two things. One is on. Yeah, but one is on me all the time, and it's my Nintendo Power Glove because I wear it. So naturally, that's just coming with me in any fire. I sleep with it on. No, I would say my boxed copy of Sky Shark on the NES, which sounds so ridiculous. Again, deep cut. Maybe no, Captain Skyhawk could be the one that I'd take too. And it's just because I remember them. That was the first game I opened up for Christmas, and a lot of memories started with that game.
That's a good answer. Yeah.
I would probably take my complete in box Jaguar, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then I would run over to Ryan's house and take his entire collection and sprint out with a whole bunch of NES games.
Yeah. So number 16, this passion. This passion costs a lot. So do you have a budget?
Gosh.
I used to, I guess back in the day. I mean, I've been collecting forever. I think, different career levels and paths in life and ages of kids have adjusted that over the years. I think my thing, more so than having a budget, was always like, it has to be a good deal, right? Like, it has to be far enough under market value that I know that I can always make money on it. Would be more of like my guiding principle than a hard limit on cash, maybe.
Yeah. If anything, that's what I was going after, was not this. Half the time it wasn't even the game. It was the hunt that I found something
Right.
cool for a good deal,
Yeah. I mean, Nate will remember that, like, when we first met and we were talking about collecting and he was talking about buying games, it's like, no, I never spend more than $5 on an NES game. And for a while it was like $3. I was like, I won't spend more than $3 on an NES game. And I did that for years. Like,
And then the market
religiously.
changed, and we couldn't buy anything for $3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I had the pressure of I need to make a pickup video, so I have to buy something. Yeah. I don't know. Any budget from you, Nate, or?
Always paid attention to budget and dollars, and never wanted to break my family for a stupid hobby that I was like, that nobody in my family cared about except for me.
Yeah.
So yeah. Wanted a good deal, wanted to feel good about it. There were deals that I did not feel good about afterwards. One in particular was at DL. Ryan, you were with me on that.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
It's somewhere in an episode. You'll have to go hunt for it, but it was gross.
We still made money on that big time, though. Like, with the, especially post-COVID pricing.
Yeah, I know, but it's still gross on how we bought it all. We should probably give a little more context so people are like, oh, they did something for video games. We did not.
You regret murdering that guy for his video games.
We just spent a lot of money, and the guy was
more money than we wanted to.
I don't know. The boxed NES I got from him cleaned up really well. But yeah, I agree. It wasn't like my normal, well under market value. It was like slightly a good deal, but only because we kept like throwing more cash in front of him, and he would like.
And we drove so far for that, and I was expecting something bigger, better.
40 minutes, man. Come on.
I know.
That far. I do like, though, that you got gypped out of like a copy of Solstice or whatever, because like somebody switched.
I still have that. Such
a stupid switch. It's hilarious.
Mm.
What was it? Was it Solstice?
Yeah. So it was Solstice, and what was the game that they swapped it with? I can't even remember now, but I still have it. I don't know what to do with it.
So
still
funny. Next one, 17. What type of collector are you? Get everything type, only your favorite games, complete set, complete in box or loose. I never cared about complete in box for the most part. I was a complete NES collector. I mean, now I would say I'm a retired collector. I don't think I've added really anything to my collection outside of like new Switch games and a repro Atari. Or no, I'm sorry, it's not a repro. Reissue. I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to offend the masses. So I don't know. I will say I was never complete in box. That I can confirm. Just kind of whatever interested me outside of that, and then anything NES.
I was anything that I found at a good price, pretty much.
Yeah, I wanted a complete NES set, and I'm a long ways away from that now, but slowly getting back into it after not feeling, well, I was feeling really gross about a lot of things. And so who knows what I'm doing? I have no idea what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
really only pick up games when I'm at MGC.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the my collection is shrinking these days bucket. If you had to redo your collection, what would you do?
Oh man, I have an answer for this.
Go for it.
Never let Ryan convince me to buy other systems. I had
Hey,
probably the most focused collection. Like I was like, it's only going to be NES. That's all it is. And then Ryan's like, there's other stuff out there. You should try this. And then it opened the box of like, there's everything. So then I found myself just buying literally everything, which was fun, but also the collection was no longer focused. And that stressed me out too, where I was like, why do I have two of these games or two of these systems that I have never played, but I have them, and that's really fun. Sorry,
Mine
Ryan.
would be separating my collection. I used to just get a bunch of games, and there's definitely games that I wanted to keep and enjoyed. But if people came around and said, "Yeah, I'll give you this for this thing," I sold it. So to have my own separate games that I was nostalgic for, probably.
Yeah, because you made a living being
Yeah.
a video game reseller for a number of years. So
Yeah.
Thank you for those deals, by the way.
Yes, I appreciate all the games you hooked me up with. Yeah, you built most of a lot of my NES collection. I would say maybe the same thing along the lines of Nate. Like, I think I started expanding out just because like it was getting harder to find the stuff I was after, and I wanted to experience stuff I might have missed. But then that just leads to a lot of collections of things that you really don't care about, and then you're just adding things to add things. And
Amiibos.
yeah, I loved those really hardcore for a long time, but I do hate them so very much. But like, I'm just thinking like, I didn't need to build up a PlayStation 2 collection again. I didn't need to build up PlayStation collection. I didn't need to expand the limited 3DO collection I had. I mean, I unloaded that now, but it was like those. I mean, those are super fun oddity experiences, or like import Saturn games. It's just like it's cool to put in once and laugh at, and then you're like, why? What the fuck? Now it's just on the shelf, like. And then as we all got busy, like, because for a while, like, it made sense to have all those consoles available, and we would get together, and like, you had time to have friends come over and shoot the shit, and then it's just like, I'm never gonna get to this. So I ended up with just like, yeah, bloat. I wish I would have kept it a lot tighter, or maybe not even have started at all. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Like, yeah, I don't know. Definitely more curated.
It's intimidating to get rid of the stuff that you are no longer looking to keep,
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're all coming from on the other side. It's like, oh,
because it has a story, right? And like nostalgia,
right.
like even if I don't want it anymore. Like, yeah. Number 19, where you're growing older, how do you see the younger generations, your kids included? And what advice would you give them? Playing, collecting, meaning of life? I don't know. I mean, I can say that like my kids look at games very differently. Like my kids don't look at platforms as much as they just look at like persistent games, and it's kind of because they grew up at that perfect time where the pandemic hit. It's almost like a lot of their childhood interactions became online gaming and social gaming, and that's sort of stuck with them. So it's very weird. I don't know what I mean. I would definitely say like you don't need to have a huge physical collection. and also go outside once in a while and touch grass, as the kids would say.
Plus, I mean, I don't know how they're going to collect things in the future. Like
Right.
how the things that they're going to be nostalgic for was a season of Fortnite. Like
I found a dedicated server that's running Fortnite OG. Let's all jump in. Okay.
Yeah, that will be really interesting.
Yeah. It'll be a whole different landscape.
Yeah, I love that. My son, he likes video games, but he really is just a Fortnite kid. But I think he still appreciates like the retro game. I love that I can take him to MGC. Like that's his thing that he absolutely loves doing, and exploring that whole weekend of all things video games, and he truly appreciates it. So I think that's something that I just love passing on to him, that because of my crazy stupid obsession, like he likes doing that weekend and just taking it all in and hunting through bins, and he doesn't even really know what he's looking for, but it's kind of fun to see him kind of take that passion for a couple of days.
Yeah. Yeah, my kids are pretty similar in that regard too.
Yeah. All right. Next one. How much of an influence is number 20? How much of an influence did gaming and geek stuff have in your life? I think we touched on it earlier, in this podcast. Like I was like video games connected to me in a real way growing up. This podcast, I would say my post 30 adulthood and my friend group is almost entirely built around the fact that I got into the hobby. I threw out this weird, shitty YouTube channel and then I wouldn't know Andy and Nate or Fraser and Chris or any countless other people without this. Like my whole friend circle, basically, at this point. I mean, you hang on to a couple of like friends from back in high school and stuff, but you all go different ways and like you get together and you make conversation or do something once in a while, but like we've all genuinely become friends through the hobby. So yeah, shaped it a lot. And I think taking the hobby and doing the YouTube channel and the podcast has like helped me in my professional life too, like and helped me get out of my shell and if you can deal with like making crappy internet videos and having people tell you, hey, I guess I found the fat idiotic like nerd channel, and like you can just take that criticism and like shrug it off, and you know yeah I don't know, it's good. Like it it kind of opened up doors for me in a pretty unique way, I think, in my adult life.
Yeah, I think I'm obviously pretty similar too. I mean, we're all in this. We all got to this spot because of video games for the most part, the collecting part of it. Yeah, that and a lot of that community that we were kind of part of is kind of gone now too. I mean, the fact that we're still doing what we're doing is kind of a testament to just us being friends,
Yeah,
more than anything.
that's almost why this exists anymore, right?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, spoiler for the next question. I mean, we can probably talk about that too. Where how many friends did you make with this passion? Well, that's kind of what we're talking about. I mean, this podcast is the secret sauce behind this. Isn't necessarily that we're doing this to entertain anybody. This is a structured phone call. For me, it's like I'm terrible at like keeping relationships up with anybody. So having something on the calendar to be like, this is where I'm making time to have a chat with friends, it's pretty important.
Yeah. Nate?
Yes.
He was gonna say something or he was gonna fart, and I couldn't tell which.
It was a combo. It was a combo. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just built friendships and all those things we've talked about. That it was kind of a key piece to finding people kind of like me, because I felt like I was an oddity. So when it's like, hey, there are two other people that are within driving distance that are also oddities, we must combine and hang out and talk, and there's ebbs and flows to some of that and seasons, and yeah, super grateful for it.
Yeah, I think like you touched on with the last question too, like and just our family dynamics and like getting to like bond with our kids through this stuff has been.
Mhm.
It's like almost like getting to relive your childhood and watch them. It's so exciting to just watch them do it. As weird as like we said, this new generation is with the Fortnite and stuff, but it's cool. I feel like we connect. You know what I mean? Like we can connect with our kids on a level that our parents could never understand, because it was just like, what is this thing in my house? Why are you playing it? Like we don't, nobody gets it, but I don't know. It's cool to be of our generation and get to understand it,
Mhm.
understand why our kids appreciate it. Yeah, 21. How many friends did you make with this passion? Loads. Loads. I consider, Fraser and Cestus writing in too. You guys, we consider you friends.
Mhm.
I countless others, people we've had on the podcast, Ant and Josh. I mean, CJ from Replay Games. I mean, all the YouTube people that I consider friends. I could go on and on and on. Brandon down in South Dakota. Yeah, just tons of people that I've gotten to meet in real life and have genuine conversations with, and it's awesome.
Even the people we buy video games from.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't think about that. You do genuinely become friends with them after a while. Yeah. Number 22. Did this passion open your horizon to other things, movies, comics, etc.? Maybe some like more board gaming and tabletop-y stuff that I wouldn't have otherwise been privy to. So I would say to some extent that. But
I'm going to lump YouTube into that because I was never really paying attention to anything on there until I got into game collecting and stuff like that. That's, got into the YouTube and then
yeah.
haven't stopped really. It's still kind of my go-to a lot of times,
Yeah, that's true.
Agreed, for sure.
Ditto in that one.
Dido.
Number 23. What other passion do you guys have? Passion or passions, I guess.
What week is it?
Yeah. I'm a musician, so I have other outlets. I do a lot of video editing, probably not as much anymore. I do a little bit, but really enjoyed that whole world and learning it, and yeah. But again, now it's time. How do you find time to listen to podcasts?
Yeah. Andy, you got anything?
It really is like every week with me, I'll have something new that I'm really hyper interested in. I don't know if that's ADHD talking or what, but
You're
it's
probably not far off. Yeah. You're probably, I think we're all a little on the spectrum somewhere.
yeah.
The spectrum. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
That's true, though.
I do bounce around too. I'm guilty of that too, where I get hyper focused on something for a while. I mean, lifelong passions outside of like this. I mean, I still consider myself a skateboarder and a snowboarder. I haven't snowboarded in 4 years. I follow skateboarding. I haven't been on one in probably 3 years, but I still enjoy watching like skate videos and new parts. And I still, drive around town and like look at a spot and like, oh, that's a sweet spot. I should be skating that, but like have no capability. But
I'm gonna hit that rail.
yeah, more realistically for me, outside of video games, that's just nature and stuff. I love getting out there and fishing and hiking and camping and just unplugging. Like basically the polar opposite of the hobby is my go-to when I can get it done. But again, like these guys have said, time. So yeah, and I'm pretty big into like old horror movies. Like I really like old crappy black and white terrible horror movies. So
Goulet.
watch a lot of those. Goulet's phone. Let's see. So what are the best things about these new passions? I don't know if I have new ones too much. Again, the nature stuff for me, just unplugging. Like that's kind of where I'm at. I'm to the point where like you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I'm settled into the things I like at this point.
Yeah, I've definitely gotten into board gaming a lot more in the last 2 years, and I think the best thing about that is just a little bit more interactivity with the people you're playing with. You know, if you're with your family, compared to even like a video game, it's a little bit more interactive than.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the games that we play casually are just, you know, things that you're talking about other stuff that's going on too, you know. So it's a thing to do.
I'm going to answer Nate's for him. And that's like all his new hobbies, he somehow turns into monetization. And, you know, like why have a fish collection when you can't turn it into a fish farm and profit from it? So like your new passions print money somehow, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's not my favorite thing to do. It's something it's a really bad habit that I have, but you'll be happy to know I haven't started any new businesses.
No new side ventures
this year.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it's not great.
I've always got something. 25. And then we got one final question after that. So, do you struggle having multiple passions, one taking time and money over the others? Music, gaming, fishing, etc.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so hard to. I want to sit down and play guitar for 2 hours, and I want to sit and play a video game for 2 hours, and you know, it's just hard. And I think a lot of it has to do with just having family as priority and making sure that everybody's good and taken care of, and you're participating in everything that they have going on, whatever passions they have going on, and encouraging them, and so your stuff kind of gets put aside a little bit, and it's like I got 10 minutes here and 10 minutes here, and I've learned that that's an okay place to be. I used to feel really bad about that, and because it's like I got money invested or you know whatever it is, and now it's just this is what I got and I'm going to enjoy it. If it's you know, I had a Saturday, I think it was last Saturday or last Sunday, that I sat down and played like an hour of a game, and I was like, this was really fun. This was really fun, and I appreciate that time. So you just kind of, I don't know, things change a little bit.
See, with me, like when you set aside those like an hour to play, right? And I think Ryan, you sent this video to me too about the you sit down to play a game and all you think about is responsibilities and other stuff, where you get the guilt of like all this other stuff that should be getting done, even though it's important to, you know, give yourself some time too. It's just more and more difficult to find that carefree time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it. Is like we've talked about. It's just the time and making it work. I'm kind of coming back up on it a little more. Where I think you guys are probably stuck more into locked in family because like I've just got the two kids now where like going on 14 and 12, so it's like a lot of the time they're just doing their own thing. So now I'm like finding myself I'm coming around on it a little bit almost where it's like I've got more free time again, which is weird. But I think it's all just like having time available in general for any of the passions. I don't spend a lot of money on any of my other stuff or even video gaming anymore, but it's just how do you fit it in with all these schedules and jobs that can really kind of suck it out of you, you know. There are days where you just want to come home and like do jack and shit because you've just exhausted coming home from the office and you usually don't get that luxury. And then you're like, I'm such an old man. Like, I bet I go to bed at like 9, like 3 nights a week. Like, it's sad. We're old and boring. Last question. Proud to be a gamer and geek. Yes, of course.
Always.
Yeah.
I think we're winning that battle.
It's coming around.
Yeah, it's cool to be a gamer now.
We were doing it long before you guys.
We were laying the groundwork.
Yep.
We were making podcasts about it before podcasts were a thing.
So then he just finishes that out with I raise my glass to another 200. Thank you guys for being you. Be kind, rewind. Very awesome. Very good set of questions. I apologize as I think we started to run out of steam last half hour. It's getting late over here. I didn't think this podcast would be going this long, but yeah, it's awesome. Awesome question.
Good morning, boys.
Yes, we've crossed over into midnight. So we were gonna wrap this thing up maybe with just a brief look at our buy rent burn list because Andy pulled this thing together. Painstakingly went through episodes, tried to compile all our buy rent burn games. Buy rent burn's interesting because we did 3 games for a number of years. We stopped it for a while and then we brought it back as a 1-game segment over the last couple of years. So it's kind of all over the place, but yeah, 280 some games you cataloged.
Yeah, and it's wild to come back to this because there's some that we played way long time ago, and I have vivid memories of them, whether they were good memories or bad memories. And then there's ones that we even played that long ago, and I don't even remember jack shit about.
Yeah,
it's weird like that. But yeah, there was a long time where we were just throwing shit against the wall, just picking random games a lot of times. And
I think at one point it was to torture each other.
Yeah,
100%.
I think it came to that. It came to that point. But you did run across ones that were like, oh, this is surprisingly good. More often than not, they weren't. But then you got the ones that were very terrible that you can sit there and laugh at. I think the ones that were just kind of like, I think the rents are kind of the most boring games because they're just kind of middle of the road and not much to say about a lot of them. So
yeah, and then you get some gems like Growl, which has continued to be a podcast favorite.
Yep.
Porkies for the 2600. I don't remember.
I don't remember that at all. Yeah.
Huh.
Rock and Roll Racing. I think that one was one that I thought was going to be stupid, and then to realize there's a soundtrack, like the legit soundtrack coming through, and you're like, wait a second, where did this even come from?
Yeah. Yep. Chiptune versions of songs. Yeah.
Yep.
Blazion, that was a good one. That was a shooter that I'd never heard of. That is fantastic.
I'm going to say this for the 100th time this episode. D-Force.
Yeah.
How bad the scream was when they were like, anytime you get shot down, it's like, oh.
That's the one where you were like murdering or dinosaurs with a helicopter and stuff, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Whoa.
And we had a small brief obsession with David Crane for a while.
Still lingers
all
on
his works. Yeah.
He is going to be at MGC. We should try and get a photo.
Oh yeah,
but I don't want to tell him that we're basically like making him a meme with our podcast. So. Slippery slope.
I'm trying to remember. There was a Super Nintendo game that we did, and we all kind of liked. It was Pigs, something Pigs.
Yeah, Power Pigs.
Was it Power Pigs?
I still get mad at this because it sucked, and you guys are like, "It's a great game."
I think it was excellent.
I still think you're both insane.
Well, I'll take it.
A lot of people do agree with you, though, so I'll give you that.
And one like I knew nothing about, and that's how a lot of these were like didn't even know this was a game.
Mm.
Yeah,
especially as we were jumping into like other systems.
Time Slip, I do remember like being really annoyed with that one because I think that's like a really good Contra knockoff on the Super Nintendo. And I remember Andy and Justin just hated it. Like they thought it was just the worst. Like, what are you talking about? I had so much fun with that game.
I can't believe. Apparently, we played the Pokemon trading card game. I have no recollection of that.
I do remember that
at all.
Oh.
We did.
I remember
1, 2,
fighting.
3.
I remember fighting for Deep Blue. That it was a great game.
That shitty TurboGrafx shooter.
On TurboGrafx. I was like, guys, no, seriously, this is so good, and everyone was crapping on it, and I didn't understand why. I went back and played it later, and I understand why. It wasn't great. I don't know if I was just super excited to play the TurboGrafx. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like the concept of the pitch meeting for that game was like, hey, you guys like shooters? Uh-huh. Well, how would you like it if they didn't have any discernible enemy pattern? And it's just like, okay, that sounds great. Like, yeah.
And really slow.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And then, we played a lot of import stuff too. And that stuff was always another step away from not knowing what that shit is. So seeing the good stuff in there was kind of fun too.
Couldn't even read the labels for most of them. They're like, we're just going to give it a go.
We found some gems though, like YY World.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
The Joy Mech fight is pretty fun.
Yep. Starfy. Those are amazing games too.
I'm trying to remember how Sim City got picked on the Super Nintendo. Like, why was that a choice for any of us? Like, just sitting, making a city, and be like, yeah, this was good. Like, how do you like buy, rent, burn that? I don't even know.
Is Gorby No Pipeline? Is that Gorbachev Tetris game? Okay,
that was weird.
Yeah, that was very strange.
I remember when we Ryan and I discovered this game because he bought it. I can't remember where he bought it, but it was the Lone Ranger, and we sat down and played it for the first time together on the NES, and we're like, holy crap, this is incredible game.
I got that at the swap meet we threw, the one and only one we did.
That's right. And we sat down, played, and it was
for hours. Yeah,
it was so fun.
Yeah,
so fun.
I still haven't been back to that after we've done that, but that was a great one. We played Mario 3. Was it a real pick? Like that was gonna lose?
We did
we did the competitive
all the Marios
series,
together.
Right? Yeah. Bonks on the Marios.
Yep. And that was fun because we were getting burnt out on all the shitty games, so we kind of were like, let's play some good games for a while.
For sure, yeah.
Brought some interesting conversation. How do you buy, rent, burn 3 amazing games?
It's true. I read that as Woody Poop, but it's Woody Pop.
My first episode, I believe, and this one always stands out because I remember really trying to study up and how can I talk about this really well, but it was Stanley's Search for Dr. Livingston.
Oh gosh.
On the NES. And that was my first time being on the podcast and explaining like I really want to do my research. I'm going to really come at it at this angle and then realize that Buy, Rent, Burn was like, that's a stupid game. And you just move on. I was like, oh, we're not really like diving deep into this. But I just remember that was something that kind of started it all for me.
Do you guys remember It's Mr. Pants? It's Mr. Pants. Like that
Oh,
crazy
yeah, that
intro
was a
of that
weird-
puzzle game.
Yeah, that was a weird puzzle thing. Gosh.
Oh man. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. Like I don't remember half of these. Urban Yeti, that was a good one. Like
Yeah,
the
that's
GTA
weird.
Yeti game. Ninja
What about
Flamingo.
A Week of Garfield?
No,
That was a good one.
Nope.
Any Garfield game I would throw Ryan's way.
No.
He has a deep love.
Nate brought Uniracers. Shocking.
The greatest game of all time. Man, you see how I sprinkle like Uniracers and D-Force throughout this whole episode?
Yes.
So people are going to walk away like, gosh, I got to play those games. Listen to the
God
voices.
have mercy on their soul.
We spread it out quite a bit though between platforms overall.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and we even started putting some PC stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
That Signy game, that was a trip.
Yeah. That's a good game.
Hello Kitty Fighter? I don't remember that at all.
That was like the 16-bit Smash Brothers where you had to like throw them off the I don't know if they were Hello Kitty, but they were some version of those chibi style things.
Okay. Yeah, I do recall that a little bit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones.
I think Master of Darkness was one of my most impressed ones that that was a really good Castlevania game.
Well, and like you just didn't hear people talk about that one either, because like a lot of these we like kind of picked up on like hidden gem lists and stuff.
Yeah.
That one just kind of came out of the blue and we're like, oh, this is fantastic.
And Mohawk and Headphone Jack is probably maybe one of the worst games on here because it's almost unplayable to look at.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever felt more like
I forgot about that.
Game.
The spinning.
Yeah.
Can I go back 1 second? Well, this goes way back to the beginning of the podcast when we were talking about worst memory of the podcast. Guys, we never talked about Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, gosh.
And streaming that for 36 hours.
And then just to find out that we were 1 hour from beating it. You know what I mean?
Oh, man.
And that we apparently we're just streaming all of us sleeping on a couch for a while.
Yeah, and then our friends in France are like, wake up.
Well, yeah, because I remember like I kind of cheated.
Brought up.
I cheated and took like a little cat nap for a while, but you guys like were on the couch, and then when I did get back up, you're like, yeah, I think we passed out for a while. And
I think people pay good subscriptions to watch people sleep.
Yeah.
So, dang it.
Like, I'm just so amazed that we were able to do that, and also, yeah, I just have forever hated that game because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love Andy showing up too with like 25 pizzas for like the three of us, and like nobody wanted to eat because we're just all like nauseous.
Oh man, is that somewhere on Weekend Rental YouTube?
No, it is technically in our YouTube feed, but it's unwatchable because I think it's just too long.
It's too disgusting.
So it's archived technically, but you can't access it. Which I mean, I still love like that. Like we're all just like dog tired at like 3 a.m. or whatever, and then Andy just like had that hair up his ass where he's gonna carry that like dead lady around, and then it triggered that cutscene. And there's just like a corpse. Like that is one of the funniest things I've ever experienced in a video game.
Oh man, I'm so glad we brought it up.
If only that game was like
forgot about it.
5 hours shorter.
Yeah,
the island that got us.
Mm-hmm.
The worst. Well, on that prologue, like 4 hours to get to the game is insane.
Yeah.
That's so good.
I suppose we're at 3 hours on this thing. We should probably wrap it up. Nate, thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
Joy. Loved it.
Appreciate it. Doors always open.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, anytime.
But for everybody else out there, Andy and I appreciate your continued support. Thanks everybody for writing in. Thanks everybody for listening. Here's the 200 more. I guess we'll see you in another 8 years.
16-year podcast. This is insane. Love it.
It's basically a game of chicken at this point.
See who has a stroke first.
Okay, guys, on 3, we're gonna say it. 1, 2, 3. Bananas.
Bananas.
Wow.
I thought you were going to do the Be Kind Rewind. Bananas.
Be kind, rewind. Yeah.
Bananas.